What kind of nerd?
I know. Oh, big loser. Big loser.
Welcome back to the Comics Aficionados, the best damn comic book, YouTube and podcast and all the interwebs. I want to say thank you all very much for joining us. We took a week off for New Year's Day, but we are back with the first show of 2022. Got lots of stuff to talk about. It was pretty slow on the news front, but fortunately for the last 2 weeks, there have been a few controversies we'll talk about here and there. We'll get into the end of the Hickman era. We'll talk about Guy Gardner and Tom King and the rivalry with DC Comics and Marvel, whether or not it's still there. Should be a lot of fun to talk about. We won't be talking about the Superman stuff that's been coming up lately because that's been talked to death. But you may notice we are missing a panel member right now. Josh has had a power outage. Apparently, Kerry, did you jinx him?
Probably. He can have it, though. I've been having it too often.
You had 2 power outages, and now he has had 1. So let's talk to the panel members. How you doing, Kerry? Obviously, from Nerdygirlcreates. If you have not subscribed to Nerdygirlcreates and you're a manga fan, you are missing out.
I'm doing all right. Just trying to stay awake. How are you doing, Wes?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for asking. Who else we got? We've got Gabe Hernandez returning from Weird Science DC. How you doing, Gabe?
Oh, I'm fine. How are you? Thank you very much. Still waiting for somebody to put out a proper comic book with superheroes, as Perch has already pointed out.
Wait, it's been a while, hasn't it?
It has been a very long while, yes. We can talk about that if you like.
We've got Yul Carter from Fantastic Comics in Berkeley, California. You're looking fresh-faced. Did you shave today or something?
Not today. I mean, I could get like a card here.
Wow. Okay, well, you're just looking younger.
Hey, man, it's a new year. I washed my face, maybe, is what happened.
You washed yourself? About time.
It's the new year. I have to start. I mean, it's time.
Got to start it out right. Last but not least, we do have the co-host of the Comics Aficionados. Doc, how you doing, buddy?
Once again, I am definitely least. Come on. I am last and least. It's okay.
Listen, I'm not here to disparage you. You'll do it to yourself as we.
Yes, I will.
So let's talk about something that is near and dear to Doc's heart. We had the end of the Hickman era as far as X-Men. Inferno #4 came out, and he did a lot of interviews talking about all the things that he had planned that never really came into fruition. I think some of them were more interesting than others. Gabe, we haven't really talked to you about X-Men and Hickman's specific era on X-Men. What are your thoughts as we end the Hickman era that was started with House of X, Powers of 10?
I'm going to start by crossing my arms in a defensive posture. So that's how that's going to go. House of X, Powers of X were, I won't say a game changer. I think that tends to kind of histrionically elevate the quality of writing that came out of Marvel at that time period. It certainly wasn't a significant improvement over what was happening through Marvel since, way back. I mean, even going back to Claremont days. So it's definitely an improvement. When you read the articles that came out from Hickman, now basically 3/4 or 9/10 of the way out the door on his way to the Substack or wherever he's headed, it pains me to see that he had such a vision and a passion for the type of story he wanted to tell, for the kind of the epic that he wanted to create. And he started off kind of on that path, and then, I hate to use the kind of overdramatic word, but essentially that vision was hijacked into very different directions. And you can see the net result of that now. Where are we with Krakoa? It's a bunch of mutants standing around, talking, eating food, kind of dealing with this pseudo-segregationist environment that they've created for themselves, and they're about to expand that to the next level by moving themselves over to Mars and doing all these other things. I would have liked, I hate to say it like this because it's history and it doesn't matter, we are where we are. I would have liked to have seen his original vision play out. And it doesn't hurt to see that Hickman couldn't really pull off what we wanted to pull off. It hurts to see that this chronic behavior that I see both in Marvel and in DC and in some of the large private publishers as well is when they get a plan, they don't follow it through. They don't execute all the way through. They tend to kind of meander, or they get sidetracked, or they get cold feet, or whatever happens to be. And God bless him for having a vision. God bless him for trying to kind of do the best with he can. Then wrapping it up with Inferno to try and make make lemonade out of lemons. But it's kind of sad, a little heartbreaking at the same time. How's that for a positive way to start this?
Doc, you were more positive about House of X Powers of Ted. I know you become more pessimistic over time about Hickman's X-Men era. Are you sad to see it go? Would you have liked to have seen the story play out?
I would have liked to see the story play out to some extent, because I would have liked to see him put the toys back in the box when he was done. As it stands, we got 20 issues. There's 20 issues that I count as legitimately about this era. You got 6 and 6 on House and Powers. You got 4 issues out of 20 on X-Men, and you got 4 issues of Inferno. That's it. We got 20 issues into something that was essentially aiming at like the 100 or like 75 issue epic. And instead we got all the toys scattered on the floor in a place that nobody wants them. And everyone else all the people that are picking them up don't want to put them back either. They like them being broken and thrown around, and G.I. Joe running around Barbie's dream house, and Legos, like a Lego, battleship or like starship sitting under, in a in mask headquarters or some shit. It's everything's wrong and everyone else is perfectly happy to play with it with its wrong. So I would have liked to see him finish it. A lot of the things that he said in his interview were, I'm really glad didn't happen. Honestly. And here's the thing, I really liked House and Powers. I loved them. I mean, but there were glaring problems that I was talking about from literally the last episode or last issue. I said, all of these things are going to be problems. The Krakoa thing, the everybody being weirdly like sycophantic, the resurrection. And instead of actually addressing them or accepting that they were a problem, we spent 2 years with them doubling and tripling and quadrupling down on all of those things that were fundamentally un-X-Men like about this. And I would have liked for him to finish up his story just to get things back to where they should be. But that's it for me.
We've got some super chats I want to get to before we get back into this conversation. We got Callum Lyle. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I predict every week and month DC or Vita will declare a character gay, perhaps Darkseid, and John's new freeze will be up it again. That's a possibility. We got Lane Kramer here. So for Hickman's intent, how well do you think the Storm possible baby storyline would have been handled if implemented, and why did Marvel say no?
I think it would have been handled poorly. I do. I think that they realized that it fundamentally changes Storm, and they didn't want to do that.
What do you think, Gabe? Do you think they could have pulled off the Black Panther Storm baby? Does that interest you?
Well, I mean, two characters having children within the continuity of the universe is not a new thing. So I wouldn't have necessarily been put off by it. I think that there's room and potential if it was done properly. That's always a caveat. If it's done properly, I went through and kind of read the kind of the pieces of the article. That the baby, just the aspect of creating this plot development of a baby was actually not the concerning piece. The concerning piece is, if you read Hickman's statements about that, is they got agreement to do it, and they were well down the path of creating all the artwork, writing the scripts, getting the books almost finished to kind of lay out that story, and then just like the prior comment, Marvel said, no, we don't want to go in that direction with Black Panther. What is going on at Marvel? Somebody had to approve that storyline. They weren't going to engage artists and editors and letters and colorers and flatterers and everybody else to start creating those books and then get halfway or most of the way down the path and then all of a sudden switched directions midway because they didn't want to go that direction with Black Panther. What that tells me is internally within Marvel, the people that are making the decisions are not talking to each other, and they're not making decisions that are kind of synergistic for the directions of the characters. To me, the baby is less of the issue, more that how that failed to come about seems like the bigger issue in context.
Probably the bigger impediment for it to be successful if you didn't have people talking to each other. Kind of like when you had the Dan Slott revelation about Franklin Richards come out of nowhere. We've just only been talking about Franklin Richards since House of X Powers of 10 and his importance to Krakoa, and all of a sudden he's not a mutant.
Yep. Well, and honestly,
Slot story's nonsense. Slot story's nonsense.
Now I am always in favor of editorial interference that makes Storm and Black Panther not a couple, because that is the most editorially forced fucking pairing in the history of comics, and it's terrible, and I hate them.
That feels like you went into personal opinion territory there, buddy. Nobody asked for that. We asked about the question. Geek KDI, we've got says Happy New Year, all that are here. Remember, as bad as Hickman's X-Men era ends, it could have been worse. Look at how Marvel ended Ultimate's universe. You can always be worse.
Well, they haven't ended the Hickman era of X-Men. He has left, but it's still going on, I guess.
You don't feel like it's ended? I feel like it's ended.
Well, I mean, all the stuff that I'm assuming that the new titles are going to be very reminiscent of the titles that are going on right now. So, you can put a new adjective in front of X-Men or any of the other books. You can take an old team that was villains, and I don't care. and it's still going on. Yeah, I don't. Do the mutants, can they still die and come back to life?
Yep.
Because if that's still the case, then it's still going on.
They still live on drug dealing Segregation Island.
Yeah, I mean, look, I can understand why mutants would want to segregate, and they've done it a number of times anyway.
And it sucked every time.
I don't know.
Genosha sucked. Utopia sucked.
Genosha sucked. Genosha.
The Outback suck.
That was five people.
Well, that was like left there, Doc.
Well, maybe that's the real problem. It's not that. I mean, we say it every week, and it could be Batman, or it could be Marvel or DC.
Too many mutants.
Looking at the X-Men books, there are too many books. There's too many mutants. I mean, I want people to travel back to the 80s when we found out there were Morlocks underneath the tunnels of New York, and it's like that's way more mutants than there should be. And now there's a ton of them, and I'm done with it.
I blame Morrison for that.
Morrison. Really, well, they had they killed off mutants, and then they was he before No More Mutants or after? I can't remember anymore.
He was before.
Oh shit. Well, it got dealt with. Don't worry about that.
Well, he killed 16 million mutants.
Oh yeah, he did. That's right. They were all on Genosha. It was horrible. Horrible. Everybody cried.
But he also explored, because here's the problem: when you have too many mutants, you always inevitably get into, hey, let's explore mutant culture. Even Grant Morrison, the first one to do that, realized like 3 issues in, this is fucking boring and stupid. We're done. And stop doing that. But Hickman and all the people in that office decided, hey, the thing that the guy that's a lot smarter than us realized was really stupid, let's do the thing that he decided was really stupid. And then let's do the entire universe based on that.
All right. Well, let's get back into this. We got Cal Lyle. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I'm against Storm and Black Panther shipping. I want to know is why aren't there any human characters that want to build bridges with the mutants? Well, there are the children of the atom, and they definitely
only sycophants. It's like.
Wait, hold on. Black Panther is human.
He is human. You know what would have been interesting, Gabe, if with the storyline of Storm and Black Panther is the battle over where the child should be raised. Should it be on Krakoa or should the child be in Wakanda? It would have been an all-out war to see who had the better place for the baby, right?
Yes.
Well, is that kid a mutant?
He would be half mutant.
Well, don't ask Dan
half-
Slott. That's all I ask you to do. Just not ask Dan Slott.
I don't know if it's a guarantee that
It was-
the
the one that
kid...
the one that they were going to do was going to be the one from that Avengers Next cartoon. Not the one from like Next Avengers, like the one from like MC2. And
Is that
this
the one where
was-
the Avengers all wear that janky armor?
No, that was from something else. I don't remember what the fuck that was. No, this is the one where it was all the kids of the current Avengers in the cartoon version. And this one was
Right.
going to have Black Panther powers and like, you know, all that stuff, but also electrokinesis, whatever in the fuck that is.
Didn't they also have a kid in the comics? There was that one where it was the future and Gambit's son was the leader of the team. And it was heavily implied that it was Black Panther's kid.
I don't.
Oh, was that from
remember.
during the Bendis era?
I think
Where
so.
there was that was the Battle of the Atom era.
like-
That
yeah, it was like-
terrible.
It was after the end, yeah.
Yeah,
I
that
don't
was
my
terrible
mind
too.
of that whole time.
Anyway, but
Yeah.
Wes, to go back to your question about, you know, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Wouldn't that be a bunch of conflict? Wouldn't that be a bunch of war? The answer is yes.
Yeah, that would be good.
That's a good thing. Why? Because that's a story that people can understand. That's a story that people can relate to. That's a story where they say, okay, here's a child that is a mix of their mother and father. They're from two different worlds not put together. Does that create a bridge or does that create a conflict? And then we explore the drama that surrounds that scenario. That's the germination of good storytelling. If you get a good writer on it, of course, or good artist and everything else on it. So to me, I'm not bothered by it. I mean, you have some continuity and canon issues and all surrounding the potential of birth of a child, but that's exactly the kind of stuff that books are made from. You know, you go back to Dickens and all the creators that have gone back and story writers that have gone back for centuries. You know, a child from two different worlds is the stuff of, you know, classic literature. I would love to see something like that. You know, some people may find that the pairing between Black Panther and Storm kind of, you know, forced or not organic or not, you know, not compatible in any different way. But something like that coming about could be very interesting if it was done properly.
Well, plus it plays on two of like the hubris of both nations. Krakoa thinks they're the end all be all. Wakanda thinks they're the end all be all. Well, who is? And plus, Wakanda is really one of the only places out there that could, you know, legitimately, you know, pose a threat on Earth to Krakoa with their technology. So yeah, that would have been exciting stuff. They would have actually got to do it, I think. At least the conflict. We got 32 flavors of Nick Weiser. I'm drinking already. Editorials afraid of saying anything of critiquing to their writers, and it shows hence why everything is a mess.
Yes.
Afraid or just, you know, trying to get their job done and start drinking that Nick Weiser, I guess.
Well, you know what? I think it comes down to is, look, obviously it was Coates, and because it was back during the Coates era of Black Panther. Obviously, they're going to here's I think this is kind of the most telling thing. They will veto the ideas of more creative writers in order to placate the demands or the complaints of untalented writers, because they believe that the talented writers could write around the you know, objection and figure out a new way to do something, but they know that the untalented writer can't deal with that new paradigm that they're trying to veto. So Hickman's good enough that he can modify his story and figure out another way to do it. Ta-Nehisi Coates is not good enough to have to change his story and modify his to deal with Black Panther and Storm having a baby.
Well,
I think that's what it comes down
man.
to.
Right now, Iron Man is on the other side of the galaxy, and he's Korvac. He's also in Avengers as Iron Man. It's not exactly like Marvel's holding a real tight continuity here. I think that it's more what Yule said. It's like, hey, listen, I'm getting paid whether comic book is good or not. It just has to get out on time. I talked about it to the guy that was in charge of Black Panther. He said we couldn't do it anymore. We'll stop the plans and get something else out.
Well, not only that, but, you know, a rewrite. Maybe the art is already in process. You know,
Probably
so
was,
that's a
yes.
redraw.
It was.
You have to redraw it, and it's just, you know, money is being spent for things that aren't going to be seen. And that one tweet that Patrick Zurcher had like a year or two ago, where he was saying that he didn't have to redraw anything for Marvel, and DC had him do like 17 times for this one cover or something. And it's like, you know, I'm not blasting him necessarily. I'm just saying that, you know, editorial at that time for DC was a whole lot stronger and more important, even, you know, obviously for the cover of a book. And if Marvel's just like, you know, checking it and letting it go, they've been doing that for a while. So I don't think that this particular instance is really anything different. And as far as being afraid, it might be being afraid, but, you know, there could be a dollar sign attached to it, or, you know, I just don't care, or why bother? They're just going to put in another crappy picture or another script that sucks.
We got an interesting question here from Lane Kramer. I'm confused. Is Scarlet Witch a mutant or not? You tell me, Doc. Is she mutant now that she's been resurrected?
Now she is again. Because I think the way that they're going to explain this is simple. She was resurrected through the resurrection protocols, and it was an old backup of her, basically, you know, at least memories wise. And now by the end of it, she merged her past, present, and future memories together, so she doesn't lose anything like memory wise. So she'll still like not be like out of time or whatever. But I'm going to guarantee they're going to come back and say that whenever evil Wanda during Axis proclaimed herself not a mutant, she had actually used her own powers to remove her mutant X gene in the process. But since it's a previous revision before she did that, now she's brought back as an actual mutant again. Because she never removed it. That's the way that they're going to do it.
That's like Doctor Strange now too.
Yes.
Let's not make it more confusing, Doc. I think you explained it.
Yeah, but they're going to use this as, because look, the only reason that they did that story in Axis in the first place and made her not a mutant was to piss off Fox. And this is before the Fox Marvel or Fox Disney acquisition. It was, so they wanted to try to prevent Marvel from using Fox from using Scarlet Witch in the X-Men movie.
Or that it would have less impact.
Yes, because they were going to be simultaneously using her in the Marvel movies.
But then they realized, oh, damn, it's Scarlet Witch. Who cares?
Yeah. But partially that.
I'm joking.
But then by the time they bought them, they're like, oh, well, fuck. All that spiteful storyline we did to piss off the competition years ago. Well, now that one's biting ourselves in the ass. So now we have to do something about it.
All right. You've gone far off fields. That's what Doc says. She is a mutant now, but in the future she won't be a mutant. But now she is.
Matt Fraction did it in Iron Man also, remember?
The only opinion I care about on that question is Dan Slots. So I'll just wait till he answers.
Wraith X7 says the blame for Hickman's X-Men era being terrible should fall mostly on Hickman, since many of those basic ideas came from him.
Yep. And we get to finish Inferno with the one thing we were hoping for taken off the table. Our one hope to fix this whole thing, the Moira reset button, now that's gone.
It's gone.
It's basically a big giant FU to all longtime X readers. FU, we are never leaving this shit era.
But we are, because literally Omega Sentinel came back from the future and changed the timeline again. We've been reading an alternate timeline the whole time, right?
I know what I mean, but we will never get in the comics. We will never get a reset now.
Was we're just going to get Hickman's idea?
Nah, that was going to be a Jerry Duggan one shot Marauders. I believe it was. They needed an event, and so I think Jordan White decided to expand it.
Well, there you go. So you can't blame everything in the Hickman era on Hickman. There you go.
No, Jerry Duggan had a bad idea. All the people that are obsessed with prom in that office I'm not going to name names, decided they wanted to do it too. Jordan, being the, sycophantic ukulele playing clown that's in that office, said, let's placate all these prom loving women. And now everybody
right,
has
Doc.
to do it. Fuck you.
Simmer down, Doc. Simmer down. We got more. This is more than super chats to get through. We got Nightmare X123. Marvel editorial: Storm is black and Black Panther is black. Obviously, the blacks should date each other for diversity, of course.
That was not.
That's not really just a Marvel thing. That's everything.
But that's not what happened though either. What remind me, Doc? They wanted to do something with Storm and Black Panther because they were celebrating something, or I can't remember what it was.
I'm pretty sure it was like, I think Black Panther and honestly, I don't remember what it was. It was something really weird and forced, though. It didn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense at the time. We
found out that it's hard to remember these many years ago now, but they wanted to get these two characters together, and they created this mini series to go along with like the history and how they knew each other and everything. And it's like love that never was really realized, and then it finally was. And they even went out and got what was his name, Jerome Dickey, I think his name was, R.I.P.
Yes,
R.I.P. He was a romance writer, a black character romance writer, and they got him. And I tell you what, we had so many women that I didn't know and ever saw in the comic store coming in to get that Storm miniseries. It was crazy.
Yep.
And it culminated in the Black Panther wedding issue, and they even had like a designer come in and do the dress and everything. So
yeah, it was completely out of left field.
All right, fellas, I'm sorry, I gotta break in. We
now.
got breaking news. The Lawn Gnome just broke that big news, my friends. I'm gonna be a first-time dad this year. As of now, the due date is Free Comic Book Day. I personally would love that to happen. Congratulations. And it's written in the stars. This is a comic book baby. You have the baby on Free Comic Book Day. It's
oh my God, you get free comic book diapers for your life.
But congratulations. And if you need any advice or anything, just email me or whatever. I've had 3 kids in the last 6 years. I've been going through it a lot. So that's
congrats, dude.
News. Absolutely. Who else? We got this is the last one. We had unpopular opinion from Wraith X7. Hickman is great at writing his own creator-owned comics, but he is terrible at writing Marvel superhero comics. I don't know, man. I read that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. book that he did, and that thing was glorious. I read what was it? It was a Hawkeye story that was in a big event that was really great. Like, I think he's done a lot of good stuff at Marvel.
I do too, but I kind of wonder. So going back to what Gabe was saying earlier about Hickman's, and I'm kind of going off on it. Why does Marvel have such a problem finishing his stuff? Because like Secret Wars was supposed to be something that was an end to his storyline, and it was supposed to branch off, and the Marvel universe was going to change and everything, and they just kind of blew that out of the water and screwed it up. And then the other thing that Marvel does is they start events even as big events are ending. And I think it really kills whatever momentum we're building towards. And I think, I'm trying to remember Fantastic Four, but I think they did that then too. Like Bendis was leaving towards the end of that, or maybe I'm wrong on that, but just, oh no, that was Secret Wars. It's just, they never can really stick the landing with Hickman stuff.
No, they always
is it
pull out.
Hickman?
They always pull out.
Too big, and we never get what we need realized. I was in on the Fantastic Four and the Avengers stuff all the way, and I'm okay with it. But this X-Men was a big bummer.
Here's the other example: the was it X of Swords or 10 of Swords? All that build up, gathering swords, doing all the events, getting all the pieces in place, and getting the game board and all the chess pieces set and ready to go. And what did they wind up doing? Spelling bees. and
Spelling-
arm wrestling.
Did they have a staring contest? I can't
contest.
remember.
And
That was,
somebody fucking a rock.
Yeah.
I refuse to believe Hickman had that plan from start to finish in his head that way, because
was-
that would shake my faith in humanity, and I would be very sad.
Yeah, it was
There's no
the,
way.
it was the LOL so random prom obsessed writers in that building.
Yeah, remember they had them. There was like a cat, and they're like, first one to kill the cat wins. It's like, my goodness, this is such a weird.
Kerry, has any of this ever happened in My Hero Academia?
No.
No,
None of this? No proms even?
they've
There
had
was
a school
there was a rock
festival.
concert. There was a
Oh,
rock
Yeah,
concert.
a school
All right.
festival.
And a fashion show that goes with it, and it was still more exciting than anything X-Men in the last
Yes,
5 years.
it was.
Remember
Because
the
there's more
most
drama
random
and
thing?
tension. Yeah.
Most random thing in X-Men was the baseball issue that was like the palate
Yeah.
cleanser to let you know that all the major storylines had just wrapped up and we're going somewhere else with the comic.
My Hero
Yeah.
Academia blows anything from Marvel or DC out of
Yes.
the water right now, hands down. Not even close.
Big words.
way
We've
better.
also got Cal and Lyle off topic. Who watched Super Crooks and Hit Monkey? I did not. Anybody?
I
Neither. No.
no,
Never even
but
heard
I keep forgetting that Super Crooks is on Netflix because it never ended up in my recommendations list, and for whatever reason my Netflix sucks at telling me what actually has new episodes. I don't know why.
I've been watching Schitt's Creek, man. That show is really good on Netflix.
Oh my god.
It's
I'm
so
watching
hilarious.
I'm watching Cobra Kai right now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
me too.
I'm halfway through Cobra Kai. That tickles my little nostalgia bones. So yeah, it's great stuff.
And by the way, I did watch Ghostbusters Afterlife last night. Fucking dope.
There we go. So sorry, Cal, but it sounds like none of us did.
Yeah, I refuse to pay for Hulu. I already paid for too much. Hulu's too much.
Well, and Super Crooks has a very anime feel too, in the art style. So, Kerry, you should definitely check that out for us.
Yeah, I'm going to, but I've been on like a One Piece kick, so
One Piece, you're never going to end that. Super
I
Crooks
know.
is like 6 episodes or something,
I
or a
should take a
movie.
break
I
and watch
mean.
it.
Yeah, I just started into One Piece. I think I'm on chapter 16 out of 1,052.
Yes.
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 It's over 1,000 One Piece chapters. It is huge.
Yeah, and good luck trying to get the physical copies.
No, I just pay for the Shonen Jump app. It's only $2
Yeah.
a month.
Yeah, that's right.
Isn't that the best value in comics, Gabe?
You guys are killing me here.
What's that?
Isn't the Shonen Jump app the best value in comics, period?
If you are into so Shonen Jump is very much into that 80, I would say mid 70s to early 90s sweet spot of a mix of fantasy, superhero, all kinds of things that appeal to kind of a fairly wide range of people. There's a little bit of horror. There's a lot of superhero kind of fantasy action type stuff. If you're into that sort of thing, for $2, it's $1.99.
Yes.
You cannot beat that. You cannot beat that. New chapters come out usually every 1 to 2 weeks.
Yes. And you get a little notifications like, hey, you might want to go
Yes.
read this.
Get notifications. You can put the app on your phone. It'll beat anything that Marvel and DC are putting out hands down.
And there's
I'll
all
take money
kinds of
on
new
that.
series that show up, so you can jump in on day one.
Yep. People roll their eyes at manga and everything else. It's classic hero storytelling. This is the
I'm-
classic
It is.
hero
It
storytelling.
really is.
I'm rolling my eyes at manga literally right now. But you know what? Getting back to what Yule was saying about Hickman and him never finishing things. Secret Wars was supposed to reset the Marvel universe. And
And if you read Secret Wars, you can see he's building to something, and all of a sudden, what happens at the end is not what he's building to.
he was
how
building
anticlimactic
to,
was this?
he was building to Crisis on Infinite Earths, and then everything went back to normal.
What is this thing doing here?
That's
Oh, so that's the balloon. Kerry was saying in the private chat.
Coming for you.
Marshall.
I was literally what you were talking about.
What are you doing here?
What is that? What?
It's Marshall.
Oh, is it
Patrol.
Paw Patrol? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
My boys love Paw Patrol. I just didn't expect him to come here. Maybe Nemo will come over here in a minute. My goodness. All right, well, we got a couple of super chats we need to get to before we move to this next topic. We've got.
But before you do,
sorry.
I think I know what would improve the stream immensely is let's just spend the next 2 hours talking about manga, and then everybody will be happy.
There we go.
Wow.
There we go.
Hey, you know
That's
what? Fucking nap time for me.
Nerdy
Yeah,
Girl's
it's
going
a
to do
lot
a
less
manga
work for me.
stream soon, so we'll definitely be having some of that flavor here on the YouTube soon. We do have Wraith X7. Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver were turned into non-mutants and revealed to be Magneto's kids, not to be Magneto's kids, purely for synergy with the MCU.
Exactly. It was spite to, it was synergy with the MCU and spite to Fox simultaneous.
I mean, there were a
Well,
lot
which
of
Quicksilver are you
people.
talking about? Which Quicksilver?
Well, they're talking about
MCU had their Quicksilvers. Fox had their Quicksilver.
No. We're talking comic book one.
comic book.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of people that were bringing that up back then. But I think Marvel pretty much, they came out and said, we're not doing anything to spite people. We're just trying to give, like when they were doing with the Inhumans, they're just giving it was obvious they were spiting Fox.
Yes.
But they denied it all the way. And I think they did here also.
Because Ike would never let anybody he would never admit that he was being spiteful, but everybody knew he was being spiteful. Yeah. It's like the guy that's obviously cheating at poker and he's fucking Shaggy. It wasn't me. I even caught you on camera. It wasn't me. Like, motherfucker, he would just deny.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. Yeah, exactly. It's not even like it's not like they went out and said something that made people think that they were doing it, or anything like that. It's just we looked at what was going on, and we, the internet and everything said, "Oh, look at this crappy stuff that they're doing."
Yeah, it was. Hey,
and Remender had to write this story.
Yeah, well, wasn't it the same thing with the Fantastic Four? Weren't they kind of put them on the back burner for a long time when those movies were coming out?
They canceled. They canceled Fantastic Four like permanently. There was no Fantastic Four.
They did some really weird stuff. They even before they canceled it, they took them out into space and made sure they had no connection with the Marvel U for the most part.
Yep.
And then they brought it back, and then they canceled it, and it was like, what the hell?
Yeah, and there were also the firsthand accounts from the offices of Ike walking through the office and ripping down somebody's personal FF poster in their cubicles. There were all, and it's like, oh yeah, now it makes sense. Okay, it all makes sense now. There's no giant conspiracy theory necessary. A guy that's pissed off because we knew he wanted his Fantastic Four and X-Men rights back, that wasn't getting them, that Fox wasn't willing to sell them back, that they weren't going to let them expire, was pissed off and minimizing those creations while simultaneously trying to, make the MCU the biggest thing on fucking planet.
All right. Well, let's get to Cal Weil. He says Super Crooks is anime. It's made by Studio Bones that did Cowboy Bebop. Hit Monkey's funny in a violent way. And what Bullseye does is awesome.
Oh, Bullseye's in it. All right.
Isn't Super Crooks the Mark Miller?
Yeah.
Yes.
Comic?
Yes,
Okay. It's an anime style.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. All right. That's fucking
Doc,
whatever.
I heard you roll your eyes, Doc.
I did roll my eyes.
No.
Bit.
It's like good anime though.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, not that the other is bad. It's just when it's TV as opposed to a movie or something like that.
Yeah, no, I get that. I don't mind animation. Some of it irritates me.
There you go. We've got your boy Slam. Thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Very generous. Hickman's X-Men will forever be a lost treasure in the depths. Someone said the last few pages of Inferno are digs at the X office when he references the Krakoa in the dialogue with Destiny Mutant Mystique Doug. It may very well be, what he ends up doing with Moira X by the end of it. It felt like what ended up happening to his X-Men plan. It was just kind of rushed at the end. It went away and it came back at the very end, kind of thing. But I do think it's going to be one of the biggest what if stories in Marvel history. what if Hickman actually got to tell his story?
That's my what if. That's
Yeah.
the only what if story I want to read.
I have one other what if story.
Okay.
I would have really liked to see Claremont actually complete the Shadow King War.
I would have just liked him.
He had
tied up
he
his
had 100, like almost two. He was almost 200 issues of subplot leading up to the Shadow King War, and then they finished it in one issue while he was not there in Muir Isle Saga.
Yeah,
and it was
All right, Doc, well,
consequences.
Gabe, obviously you've been reading all this stuff. Do you think that Hickman was taking digs at the X-Men office and Marvel in general in some of the last few pages of Inferno number 4?
Yes. So, you're sure? Yes. This is the first time in human history that a writer or artist took digs at the publisher on their way out the door. No, of course not. Right. There's a long and honored tradition of people finding little in jokes or little in digs to plant seeds in their books to make it through, and they usually either rely on an editor that is firmly on their side that lets it pass, or an editor that doesn't know any better and lets it pass, not realizing what they let pass in the first place. Do I fault them for that? No. And for most people, here's the context of what we got to get through. For people like us, like on the stream and in the chat and everything that's going on, we're sort of tuned into these things happening, and these, the writers in the writer's room, the X-Slack and everything else. For 99% of the normies that are out there that just walk into a comic shop, they have no idea that any of this is going on.
Yes.
So it really has no impact and no effect. It's only just between us chickens. So that's the only place where it makes a difference. Is it dig? Probably. Do I fault them? Not really. Does it matter in the long run? No, it doesn't matter. And, again, God bless him. I hope he has much success at Substack or whatever he's doing.
Well, I think he's supposedly going to be doing something at Marvel. It just won't be X-Men. Some people are speculating he's going to be the Spider-Man writer, but I don't believe that one. That doesn't feel like a good fit.
Really?
Do you think he'd be a good Spider-Man guy?
I don't know if he would be a good Spider-Man. The thing is like, if you're doing a Spider-Man story, more often than not, I mean, you can do something big, but it's still a lot smaller.
Spider-Man is a less is more character.
Sure thing. And that'll be very interesting should it be a Hickman book, because that's not what he normally does. Although maybe in his like self-published stuff sometimes. Like, East to West is big, but it really is just about the main character. At least when I read it. And he can get.
No, man, he's setting like the table for events that played out like 2 years later in that book.
Well,
like,
yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Whatever. I think he could do it. I mean, he's sort of funny. He has used Spider-Man in the past when he was doing Future Foundation. And if you look at all the big things that the big titles that he's done over at Marvel, that would be the one, right?
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
So that would be the last big name character. We've also got your boy Slab says, guys, if you want to read a good superhero manga, read One Punch Man.
Why, Kerry?
Oh, you ready for a hot take? You ready for a hot take? One Punch Man isn't really a superhero comic.
Why
It's more like a Western, because you have a central figure with a mysterious past that comes into town and cleans house without any real competition. It reads like every single classic Clint Eastwood Italian spaghetti Western you've ever watched for the last 50 years. How's that for a hot take?
Man, I'm supposed to be doing a video of One Punch Man versus Superman soon.
Oh, really?
My goodness, it's going to be fun. Now you've ruined it for me, Gabe. I can't get the image of Clint Eastwood out of my head.
I'm sorry, Kerry, I might have overstepped you a little bit. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
No, we're just busting chops. What were you going to say, Kerry?
I was saying Saitama's like the perfect superhero for now. He doesn't give like a crap about what everybody else thinks or wants to be like. He just does what he wants to do for fun. He doesn't fall in line with all that. Yeah.
This is bored superhero. So thank you very much to your boy Slam there. Do we have anything else to say about the Hickman era coming to an end?
Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out.
He should have hit the reset button on the way out.
I'm
really mad that he didn't, because look, with him not in the office, I have absolutely no reason to continue. I hate this era. I hoped it would end. I wanted to see how he would end it, and if they're going to stick in it, I'm fucking done.
Well, there we go. We've also got Sigma Comics. Keep it tuned to Thinking Critical. Keep your ears peeled, because this is where it's at. Support these creators, and don't forget to back Here Comes Calico, now on Kickstarter. Absolutely. Thank you very much. Had a great conversation with HH this week on the channel. We got Brad Frederick. Who could they put on Spider-Man that would bring more hype than Hickman, though? Hickman and Pitara on Spider-Man would sell.
Ooh, Pitara. That'd be neat.
Well, probably Donny Cates.
Well, I'm Donny Cates, and he would be in line for something like that too someday.
Well, it feels like he's moving to Avengers sometime soon, doesn't it?
He's already been doing
the
Avengers.
The problem with Spider-Man right now is not the writers. I think the problem with Spider-Man right now is Marvel doesn't know who Spider-Man wants to be. They're really wrestling with trying to keep him silly and playful and young, like he's reflected in the movies that Sony's putting out, which are making tons of money, and then still having him being mature and aged up and in a serious relationship with MJ and everything else that's going on. He's constantly fighting between being an adult and being a teenager, and there's still every storyline kind of waffles back and forth between those two in varying degrees. Until Marvel figures that out, I think they have to figure out a strategy and then find the right writer to fit that strategy.
I think even more than that, they need to decide who the fuck is Spider-Man, as in, is it Peter Parker, Ben Reilly, Miles, one of the 73 other ones?
Other worlds don't count.
They're all still in the same fucking universe these days. They keep sticking them all. Gwen is in that universe. Miles is in that universe. There's 17 Spider women in that universe. They're going to decide that a woman is now Spider-Man, because why the hell not? Even though there's multiple Spider women, sure. You know what? They need to decide who the fuck Spider-Man is and just focus on that one Spider-Man. That's it.
All right, Doc, somebody wants to make you smile, and it's Callum Lyle. Doc, I wish I could make you smile with my sketches of Storm, but I know you don't use Instagram. You, sir, if you can find porn on it, Doc is there, and there's definitely porn on Instagram.
It's so covered up, though.
That doesn't bother Doc. He knows how. You got Instagram, don't you?
Actually, I think I do. I don't really use it often.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
I don't have
Pornhub goes down. He goes to Instagram.
I don't have Facebook and
no porn.
I don't have Snapchat or WhatsApp or any of those.
Well, what's Callum Lyle's Instagram profile?
Yeah, what's your Instagram? Everybody wants to see these sketches of Storm.
I know. I'm looking for it right now. There's a lot of Callum Lyles, so I'm screwed.
Who would have known that was a popular name? Well, listen, if we could find the sketches, we'll put them right here on the channel and see if we can make Doc smile. He's he's salty. There we go. All right, let's move on. We got another topic to hit. We've got the DC versus Marvel rivalry. It's been happening for upwards of 60, 80 years, probably more like 60. That's when Marvel really came into its own. But it feels like it's been snuffed out the past few years. I don't know, Kerry, what do you think? Is there still a rivalry between DC and Marvel?
It doesn't feel like it. It feels more like they think competition is like problematic and they're too busy worrying about sticking certain things into stories than actually creating stories. So the only people they're fighting with is on Twitter with fans.
All right. What do you think, Yule? Is there a competition still there?
I think maybe like business wise, as far as who's going to distribute them.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it feels like it's not the same as it used to be, where one person was maybe one-upping the other. But even still, DC had a Justice League story where they had like a Black Panther character, Red Lion or something like that. I can't remember. So, I mean, there are going to, and people get signed to exclusive contracts. And it's still happening. I forget who DC signed not too long ago.
Tom Taylor.
Tom Taylor. So they specifically didn't want him being, working on any more Marvel stuff.
Well, neither did any Marvel readers. So it worked out for
DC, you played yourself.
This is like when they signed Bendis, right?
Was Tom Taylor's agent Scott Boris or something? Holy cow. But so it still happens. But as far as maybe even more so, DC and Marvel, when they didn't like each other, actually worked with each other and had all those crossovers and things. And in the 90s, when they were getting slammed by Image, they kind of like coupled up and, we could beat them with our main characters and crossovers. But yeah, it's been a long time. I mean, there's this person on the internet that's been talking about Dan Didio's hate for Marvel because of Quesada and things that were said. So maybe that's still continuing on. Quesada is still there, but Didio isn't. So you would think that these companies could work together if they wanted to. But
Quesada legendarily blew his top when he found out just moments before Grant Morrison went out and announced at a Comic-Con that he'd signed a DC exclusive deal.
Yeah, well, Quesada, right?
Yeah, you never get these fun moments anymore. It doesn't feel like they're trying to.
Yeah, I mean, they did that with Tom King also, DC. He got like a couple issues of Vision out. And even though he had worked for DC before, those Vision issues were like, they were fire. They were like, oh my God, this is the next great writer. And DC signed him exclusive like immediately. But, you don't see that too much. And people don't really like hate on the companies as much, like leaving, like, George Perez famously did. And he was another one. He signed a long ass contract, like unheard of, like was 10 years or something. Nobody signs a 10-year contract in comics. And he hated working at Marvel so much by the time he was over, and but no, I don't know if the rivalry is necessarily dead, but it seems to be like,
it's dormant or something.
It's just not. It's not a reflection of what's going on in the comics. I think it's more business-wise, personally.
What do you think about it, Gabe? I think competition's healthy for any industry, and it feels like they've decided to kind of check out of the competition to see who could be the best publisher. They've just they're doing the exact same thing. It doesn't feel like there's a big difference between DC and Marvel right now, whereas they used to be very differently as far as the execution and the tone of the universes.
Well, I think there's two layers to it. The first layer is I think within Marvel and DC there is very serious, very heavy, very pointed competition, but it's not against Marvel and DC. It's within their own organizations. Mm-hmm. I think there's more than ample evidence that indicates that the writers not necessarily the artists, but it's more the writers are constantly vying and jockeying for positions on specific titles or within specific writers groups and what have you. They're so busy competing with each other internally. They don't have enough energy left over to focus on competing amongst the publishers. So there's that one layer. The second layer is there's no Stan Lee anymore, right? For the longest time, Marvel was the figurehead. He was the spokesperson. He was the face of Marvel, and he was, in many respects, the ultimate hype man. So he's in there just pounding away on the public to say, look at the awesome things we're doing. Look at the magnificent things we're doing. Look at all this great stuff that's coming down the road. Look at all the stuff he's working on. Look at all the stuff you have to get excited about. And then you turn around and like, who's doing that today in Marvel? Nobody. Who's in that position at DC right now? Maybe Jim Lee, but he's a hermit at this point. I mean, you never see him other than when he occasionally does a canned written interview with some, predetermined news outlet. There is nobody hyping the company. I try to avoid following creators whenever possible on Twitter or wherever else because by and large they typically say stupid things to just irritate me, so I just mute them whenever possible. But I do follow a few of their marketing staff. And the people that are literally in marketing jobs for DC and Marvel, if you think that somebody would be hyping them up, trying to generate buzz and excitement for what they're doing, And what are they talking about? They're like, oh, look, this is a cool thing out today. Or, some political person pissed me off. Or this thing happened on my birthday. It's like, oh, look at my cat. I guess I'm the old cat lady now. And what are you doing?
Yeah, I remember CB Cebulski on his Twitter. It was when House of X Powers of 10 were coming out. And he's like, there's so many good comic books out this week. And it was like, it was all DC comics that he was reading. Everybody's like fucking House of X #3 comes out this week. That's the best book in the industry. Why are you not talking about that? You should be telling everybody, if you read one comic book, it should be this one because I put my reputation behind it. But he's sitting there, he's like telling people to go eat sushi and read DC comics.
There is no public identifiable figure at either Marvel or DC who treats the public persona and presence and brand of their company like it's the greatest thing to slice bread and is continually pumping up energy trying to get people excited. There's nobody doing that right now. I could be wrong. Maybe there's a corner that I'm missing and I'm not paying attention, but part of my living is paying attention. There is no Jim Lee equivalent these days for either company. And I think that's definitely a problem.
Massive YouTube channels and like millions of subscribers. They don't even have a face there of just some like nerd that they're giving money to talk about how cool it is. Like they're talking about cooking and stuff. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, if you follow the Marvel YouTube channel, what do? They put out like little mini kind of motion comic previews of issues that are coming up. And occasionally somebody talking about like if they're going to be at some convention or something. How to draw Nightcrawler. That's what you get. That's it.
And what would Nightcrawler eat at a Super Bowl party?
I mean, if anything, though, one of the more disappointing things that I've noticed that have occurred in the last year is when DC hired Daniel Cherry III back at the end of the last summer. He's a shark. If you look at his resume and his reputation, he doesn't play around. I mean, he's worked from some of the biggest brands on the planet. And I had at least some hope that when he came in, he would say, okay, if we're going to make this brand important, we got to start making some changes. And I don't know if he's doing something or they just put him in a box and they say, we hired you, but you're just, a figurehead or something. I don't know what, but nothing came out of that. And that was really surprising to me. So I was hoping there would something come out of it, but right now nobody's hyping anything that either company is doing.
And obviously, you're a retailer. Are you getting it on that end? Or do you have the hype man coming from behind the scene to tell you what to get excited about? Or
oh God, no! It's all an internet or an email at one part of the week. I get the same thing from all the companies, that I don't unsubscribe to, but I ignore it. Image sends you this map like once a year that you're like you put out on your counter. And they email you every month like a thing to put in the mat so that you can show the books that they have coming out. And that's kind of cute, but like that's it. And everything else is either I guess everything you're expected to follow people on the internet and social media and stuff like that. And if you don't, then you're not going to find out a whole lot of stuff because as a store owner, there's a lot of emails that come through. And now that Penguin Random House, oh my God, nobody cares about this, but I get so many emails on things that I order. It's just like, too much. And looking at somebody's comic book or them trying to shill something, you're right. There is no Stan Lee really anymore. I remember going to San Diego back in the old days. And like there would always be some annoying person hyping their stuff behind. They're hustling. I hate that person down that way. They're always so loud. Brian Pulido, this guy is such a thing. That type of stuff. But they're not there anymore. And conventions really aren't either. I mean, they're not about comic books. Nothing's about comic books anymore. No. This is what's about comics right here.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like I do a better job. Obviously I talk about a lot of the stuff that Marvel or DC do or bad, but I definitely point out the good stuff that's good. It's like why do I care about these rivalries and what's good going on at Marvel and DC more than the companies themselves? It shouldn't be that way. They're not paying me.
Well, that's true, but you see that in like we all want to have an opinion. We all want to say something. We want to hear people have a conversation with them and whether they agree or don't agree, all that stuff. But it's just not, you get in these conversations and people are like, why do you like get so bent out of shape about this? It's not important. And then they do the same thing about, some TV show, housewives show or something like that. And, we all do it in everything. It's just, I don't know if these companies really care as much as we do. ever really, maybe if it's like a car company and, we want our seatbelts to work properly, then we'll get out and, this would be important then. But other than that, if it's entertainment, we're suckers. But suckers, we always come back for more.
Absolutely.
Do you think also that maybe like for Marvel example, they're too dependent on the movie's success?
They're only maintaining because of that, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, Marvel will always make X amount of dollars. They have all their back stock. They could put it in print. They could put it digitally. If they were smart, it would be better like Viz. But so they don't. I mean, they're always going to be a thing, but it's not like super lucrative. It never has been, right? It's all about the selling the Spider-Man image to Target so they can make a bunch of shirts.
Right.
That's way, that's where Spider-Man kicks ass, when he's making $1 billion movie and stuff like that.
Yeah, the money that DC generates just off their comic book license, using their logos and whatnot, actually dwarfs the entire comic book industry in North America.
That's what they usually said. They said, where DC makes its money, the Superman shield and the Batman symbol, and
putting them on backpacks and lunchboxes and stuff.
Yeah.
Coloring books.
So is the rivalry dead? It's quiet. It's more like a Cold War.
I saw some people say that they think the rivalry is comics versus manga. I don't even see that one, Gabe, and here's the reason why. A vast majority of American comics are sold in comic shops, and a vast majority of manga sold in North America are sold in bookstores. Like they're not really they're not competitively going against each other head to head, like in the same space. Like they've got two different channels where they're the king, and they don't really go head to head too much.
Yeah, I mean, as much as Comic-Con likes to lump those numbers together without any explanation or delineation, it's different. It's not bad that it's different, but it is different, and I think it's okay to embrace different. It's also part of I think part of it also is that people invest in DC and Marvel like they invest in sports teams, right? They like their cast of characters. They like how certain things are played out. They like how things are done. And there's passion behind that. People get upset because they have passion for something. Companies beg for people to get passionate about the stuff that they do and the stuff they put out. So anytime I hear somebody say, "That's just comics, don't take it seriously," that is the dumbest statement that any employee should ever make in the history. That person should be fired on the spot. If you have an employee of your company and say, "Oh, it's just comics, you shouldn't take it," get rid of that person immediately. That is an infestation. It is a cancerous tumor that should be removed out. You want people passionate about your brand. The reason why shows like this exist is because we are passionate about what's going on, about comics, about what these companies have made over decades and decades and decades. We're passionate about. We wouldn't be sitting here talking like this if we weren't. The companies are stupid for not capitalizing on that, rather than just letting it flounder and wither on the vine. They need to kind of take their marketing more seriously. They need to take their public engagement more seriously. I know that they have issues paying editors and paying all kinds of people and cutting their marketing and everything else. That's a reality of the financials of the situation. But the fact of the matter is, people don't talk about the comics because right now, I think most people don't even know the comics are there anymore. And that hurts everybody.
Speaking about being here, being passionate about comic books, if you are in the live chat or live, if you're here with us live, we've had like 190 live viewers for quite a while. That's a really good number. We've only got 60 likes. So if you wouldn't mind throwing a little like our way, let everyone know we're having a fantastic conversation about comic books, the comic book industry. We would really appreciate that, because we want as many comic book nerds here as possible to enjoy this and kind of get in on it. It looks like the live chat is doing very well. I do have a few super chats that are queued up, but I do need to take a break to go to the little boys' room. So, Doc,
Yes,
I want to
sir.
hear from you what you think about the DC Marvel rivalry, and I'll be back in a couple minutes.
All right. So, look, I Wes and I already kind of had a little bit of discussion on this about a week or so ago, and I think the idea of the rivalry being dead, it sucks, but it really shouldn't be. Look, rivalries you look at anything else in life, rivalries build success. Steve Jobs and Bill Gates had a very serious rivalry, and you ended up getting the entire internet revolution and the smartphone revolution and all this other stuff, technological wonders, because of their rivalry and always wanting to outdo each other. Magic and Jordan in the NBA, they had a serious rivalry over who was better. And same with Magic and Bird. You look, Kobe and fucking Shaq, Lemieux and Gretzky. Who was better? And it pushed them to always be better. When you end up with everybody's fucking, on the same level, kumbaya bullshit that you're seeing everywhere, everybody's validating each other. Nobody's sitting there going fuck you. I could do that better. And I'm going to do it better. I'm going to embarrass you with how much better I do it than you. You end up with stagnation and boring. And what have we had for a lot of the last 5 to 10 years, if not longer? Boring.
We've seen people that were actually boring and tired at Marvel and DC, and then they go over to other companies, self-owned, and they kind of kick butt a little bit more, so they don't even feel like they're trying as hard at the main two. It's just a way to get their career going, right?
Yeah. It's all of they feel like they have to play this kumbaya bullshit game while they're at the big two, while the big two stagnate. Mm-hmm. And then the minute they go over and leave there and go do something creator owned or at a smaller company that has something to prove, they actually, it's like their competitive juices are flowing. And they try to do better. They try to be bigger. They try to outdo somebody else. I mean, look, look at comic art in general. When was the you had the early Image guys, and those guys were friendly with each other, but they were absolutely competing with each other.
Dude, do you remember when Roger Cruz came in and Joe Mad was like, "You're just stealing my style" and everything like that? Nobody says that anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
It could be like, "You Pepe Larraz are just stealing my style." You could be like, "You whoever on X-Men books are stealing my style." You know, but nobody does that anymore.
No,
but they should. They should. You should be saying, "Yes, I'm stealing your style, and I'm making it better than yours."
Well, that would be fine, but they don't even get into fights to begin with. I mean, Dan Fraga, remember when he put all that shit in his Black Flag comic book where he was slamming Jim Lee and J. Scott Campbell?
Yeah,
and and I was like, Fraga, give me a break, but. It was funny. It was like, whoa. And not only that, but there was always been the Comics Journal where someone's slamming somebody at Marvel or something like that. Remember when Grant Morrison was on X-Men and then he went and did the filth for DC? And the poster, because, I work at a comic store and I have posters. The filth one said, all the stuff I can't do on working on X-Men, basically.
Yeah. And
it's the slam, for sure.
There's something about it where, see, there used to be a desire to be number one.
Mhm.
And number two, it's like if you're not number one, you're just the first loser. And that doesn't exist anymore. That mentality doesn't exist anymore because you know why? And I think it's because all of the actual commercial artists that recognize that comics were commercial art are no longer in there now. Now you have the artistes. They don't have competition. They just want to get their vision on the page.
Mm-hmm.
They're not competing.
You know what makes that worse is for the longest time, and really for the past several decades, Marvel's been number one, DC's number two. There have been fluctuations, but by and large, Marvel is the leader. When you have X titles, Marvel Comics, X titles, where you have significant numbers of not just panels, but pages where people are sitting around talking, sharing their feelings, and eating, that should be an easy picking opportunity for somebody that's got some fire in their belly over at DC to overtake them.
Yes.
If I reshift my focus, light a fire under my butt, and start writing some kick-ass superhero comics, I should be able to overpower that within a matter of months. The fact that they're not actually says something worse about DC than Marvel. Because basically they just made themselves a fat, lazy target just sitting there, and nobody's stepping up to the plate to challenge them. DC has all the opportunity in the world right now to take over that number one spot and hold it, but all we get are 15 bat titles in a single month, and we can't even get, and then we get 10 issues of Swamp Thing where we don't even get an origin story, and that's a whole other thing.
But now
you can't talk about Swamp Thing. People get mad at you, Gabe.
DC's doing a lot of miniseries. DC's doing a lot of miniseries. So is Marvel, and I think we're really seeing we're seeing the results of that. People don't have a reason to come into the comic store quite so often if it's not coming out, all the time. Let's say you like this one type of story. Let's say you like Crush Lobo. It's over. Maybe you'll get like a Robin or a Batman Urban Legends or something if you want something similar. But then they don't have anything else, Superboy or Superman. Oops. That's it though.
Well, but I mean, I guess getting back to the point I was making earlier, though, about being number one. Look, Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, Todd McFarlane, Mark Silvestri, Willis Portacio, they were all like working in the same office. They were all friendly, but every single month they were waiting for that Wizard top 10 artists list to come out so they could find out which one of them ended up at number one. And then the one that was at number two, everyone that was below number one, like ramped up their shit the following month to try to steal like that number one spot back by doing something even cooler.
Dude, they stole each other's. They stole their underlings that worked under them.
Yes,
like Liefeld, you took my guy.
Yeah, like I mean, yeah, like they and they'd steal aspects of each other's story, like storytelling tools. Like they're like, oh, this guy did this cool thing with this zipatone over here, or this hatching here, or the way he's doing his like this perspective, I can do it better. You know what? There's no feeling of anyone in comics wanting to do something better than one of their contemporaries anymore. It just doesn't exist.
At least in the main two for the most part. I mean, there have been, obviously there's an exception to every rule, but if you look at like James Stokoe work over at Dark Horse that he's doing, it's just fantastic. And, nobody's putting in the effort that he's putting in, or not as many, nobody at Marvel for the most part is putting in the effort that he's doing in that one book. Of course, they have to come out monthly, so that's another reason.
So we do have some live, some super chats we need to get to. Cal Wild chimed in. DC Neo 2 is his Instagram handle if you want to see his image of the store. Some of it apparently is not suitable for work, so perhaps you'll get some very interesting images there. We got King KDI. Deadpool kills the Spider-Man universe. Book it. And Deadpool kills the X-Men universe. That's what they need a book. That or the Sentinels finally do their job and take them out. You know what I'm saying, Doc? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I want. I want kill all the muties. I'm finally on the side of Friends of Humanity. Kill the fucking muties.
Jesus, Doc. This is not a nice term. King KDI. To be fair, Marvel tried to have Joe Q do a live stream talking about their YouTube channel, and it did not go well. Low viewership.
Oh, then they're lucky.
The response to that was to do a 616 documentary highlighting Tim Brevoort and talking about Iron Man 2020's development process. And we all know
it worked. They got a lot more eyes.
Yep, and all bad PR.
I was embarrassed for them.
I
was embarrassed for them when I saw that documentary. That was awful.
But yeah, well, with live streams, you gotta be kind of on schedule, or you have to do something to promote it. And they can't promote comic books at this point, so I'm not surprised they weren't able to promote that they are having a live stream with Joe Quesada. It would make sense. We got Callum Lyle. What the F is wrong with Jim Lee? Is he taking too many blue pills? I think Jim Lee is just is fat and happy in his cozy job.
Jim is very, very well paid. He's got probably enough money that if he was out of comics tomorrow, it wouldn't matter. And he could always go. He knows that he could always go draw a creator-owned book, make $1 million on every issue.
Well, he can sell old X-Men covers.
Yep.
Or interiors. Anything with Wolverine's going to get him more money.
He
can do a drawing for somebody and charge an obscene amount of money every month. He could kill us in salary.
Yes, he could literally be like, he could start his own, like the J. Scott Campbell store variants.
Oh yeah.
The ones that
exactly.
the JSC's doing with his own little online store. He could do the same thing every month and probably make 3 times what Jeff's done.
Yeah, exactly. Or he, just all that. I mean, just on his talent alone, he could make a lot of money, and he doesn't really have to create anything going forward. But if he did, I think it would be pretty good also.
And I don't think he cares enough to fight anymore.
Probably not.
We got you heard of that guy from north of the border. Perhaps the rivalry isn't dead. Maybe it's changed. They used to compete for sales. Now they compete for virtue points.
DC's killing them right now, I think.
DC's got them.
Oh, DC they're way in the lead. They're killing it. Yeah. Look at that Justice League. The potential Justice League. Woo.
Yeah, look at fabulous. John Kent.
Perhaps that's
good
what
for
it
them.
is.
Good for them.
All right. So, does anyone else have anything they want to say about the rivalry between DC and Marvel? Sounds good. Let's move on to this. We've got a superhero fight: Electra versus Catwoman. Doc, who you got?
Electra versus Catwoman. I have to go with Electra because she's a killer. She's better trained and she's a killer.
Yeah, but Catwoman literally is navigating an entire city full of killers, and she's still standing.
Yeah, but they don't necessarily always just want to kill her.
Right.
And Electra is an assassin, so more than likely the fight's going on because somebody paid Electra to kill Catwoman, and Electra's just going to not stop until the job's done.
All right, well, that's an interesting take. What do you think, Kerry? Who are you going with?
I have to agree with Doc. Electra.
Oh my goodness, Doc is not right. Larry's saying easy win. Larry, you were out of your mind, sir. Are you not gardening today? What is going on? It's like, oh my goodness, Gabe, come on, get these guys in line. It's Catwoman, right?
No, Electra's got a hands down. Look, well, see, here's the difference. Catwoman is her entire persona is built around stealth, being able to get in and out without being detected, without being seen, without being heard. So are we talking about, can Electra catch Catwoman? That might be a tougher sell. But if you put them head to head in a fight, Electra's going to put her down in minutes. That's not even a discussion.
All right, you're the last one to chime in. Are you the voice of
I don't know. Is Catwoman more proficient with her whip than Electra is with her size? Because if she could disarm her, then she might have a chance. As far as Electra being a killer, I'm pretty sure Catwoman has killed. Just not on the pages of a DC comic, probably.
Bull crap, she just killed Joker. What are you talking about?
Wait, she killed Joker?
In the future.
Oh my goodness. Spoilers, sorry.
In Tom King's head. In Tom King's head.
That's not.
Yeah, but they were also turning like Gotham High into his head canon.
I need in continuity Catwoman killing her age right now. So however old she is right now, 32, 35, she killed someone. I'm down. But I haven't seen that in the comics as far as I might have read every single issue. Electra, because she can sneak just as well as Catwoman also. You got to remember, like in Daredevil, where she's hiding in the car pot. Well, I guess Foggy isn't that observant, but still. Electra, yeah, unfortunately.
I guess everybody's going with Electra. We needed Kenneth here, he would have set you guys straight. But we do have Leg Kramer. He's chiming in. So X-Men Vote 2022. He's voting for Shuma Gorath eating the X-Men.
Well, it would have to be Krakoa, right? Like the entirety of the island.
Honestly, at this point, eat the whole fucking Marvel universe. Just eat it, and we can start over.
Hasn't there been a rumor for quite a few years now that they were going to do like a New 52 type thing?
I hope to God. Honestly, although it's going to actually be worse.
If they restarted right now, let's just say from day one, and they went out and got very, Tomasi's doing a book and some other good people working on the books, maybe a couple classic artists, doing some fill-ins or at least covers. And, they started off with Avengers, X-Men, Spider-Man.
With Fantastic Four. That's the beginning
Fantastic
of
Four.
Marvel.
How would you feel about that?
Miles as Spider-Man, Laura as Wolverine. It would be Marvel now, but they would pretend that everything for the first 50 years didn't happen.
You don't think they would just like restart and kind of like
no, that was called Ultimate Marvel.
Yeah, you're right.
I disavow.
So you wouldn't be excited.
Axel Alonso's leadership.
So you would not be excited, Doug, because they would do all those Force things anyway.
It would be Marvel now and all new, all different Marvel and all new, all different Marvel now again and again. And except for now, their argument would be, what are you talking about, the real Wolverine? This is the real Wolverine. There was never a Wolverine before her. That's a different universe. That universe is over. This is the real Wolverine now. Same with Spider-Man. Everything would be as current year as humanly fucking possible. It'd be hilarious.
Let's move on. We got the comic union vote was finally certified. We got the first comic book union at Image Comics as far as their staff there. It was a vote of 7-2 supermajority, Doc. I feel like you've been champing at the bit to unload on this. Or are you excited?
I love watching children play boardroom. This is, look, you want to set your company on fire, be my guest. I really don't care. You know what? Todd is still going to publish Spawn, whether Image burns itself to the fucking ground or not. Jim Valentino is still going to do his shadow line. All this means is Image itself probably dies. And you end up with a handful of indie companies out of it, or self-publishing, his own stuff. And then they
would just fire the people.
No, because you're going to end up running into Image is located in the Pacific Northwest. You're going to end up within all kinds of National Labor Relations Board issues if they try to just fire them. So, no, they're going to be gone. I mean, the company's going to die. It's going to kill the company. They might be able to get out of it if they do. I'm not sure exactly what the laws are on this, but if they end up into like a full corporate restructuring thing, and they might have to file some form of a bankruptcy in order to do that so that they could basically clean house. Otherwise, you can't just wipe out a union unless more. Now, there's always the possibility that the other employees in that office that didn't vote to become part of a union, they could always hire a bunch of non-union people and then have them and be like, hey, we'll hire you for like a month, pay you, $1,000 as long as you vote to dissolve the union. They could do that.
I don't know. That sounds pretty illegal, Doc.
It's shady as fuck. They could never actually admit that that's what happened. And then, hey, we will hire, this person that joined that fought for this union, you're getting hired as their replacement. But you have to vote to disband the union, to dissolve the union, and then we'll fire them and give you their job. They could theoretically do that, but they need to essentially wipe out their entire staff.
That's a lot of work for nothing.
It's a lot of work. It's easier to wait until it all crashes. Wait until it all crashes, file some form of a bankruptcy, do a corporate restructuring, and wipe them out that way.
Well, I would love to see the day that like Brandon Graham can't get his comic published over at Image. That's going to be a very good conversation for some people. The next time Warren Ellis's Fell shows up or something like that, and they've done so much work and success with him over the years over at Image, to not have him eventually be there because of some grunts in the office. It doesn't feel right. Doesn't feel very Image. Definitely, it's not very punk.
Now, the one thing to keep in mind. Okay, they did. Here's the thing. Okay, they voted to have a union.
They're a union.
But the company has not agreed at this point, as far as I'm aware, to a collective bargaining agreement.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
So all their demands in their list, none of them are actually in place yet.
Sure.
Right.
So
that won't happen. You're right.
Yeah. So
well, I mean, you got to ask for the moon, right?
Yeah, this is their platform. That was their platform to get the employees to vote in favor of it. Now, the company still has to agree to all those things, or say we're not, and then hire scabs.
That's true. Yeah.
Didn't they
It's
just
12
remove
people,
people?
Doc. It's not that big. It is 12
Not
people.
technically.
Yeah.
It was just off a Valentino comic, I think.
Oh, okay.
I remember when Image was in Berkeley, I got to hear a lot of stuff, and when I think it was Rat Queens, it was under the Shadowline banner, and Curtis Weeb wanted to move it over to the Image banner so that he didn't have to pay Valentino any freaking money other than the Image banner. And Valentino's like, fuck that guy. I want him out of here. We're never going to publish this guy's book again. They kept publishing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like this
but the statement about the union that these guys are already keyed on, which are people are sort of kind of not absorbing properly, is all that's really done is they've officially formed a union and then it's been legally recognized.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. You still have to engage in collective bargaining. The Image leadership still has to agree to that collective bargaining. And the crux of that is, well, if you don't give us what we want, what is their point of leverage? It's to walk out. It's to strike or unless they're doing something illegal that goes against the National Labor Board and some of the things where they can fire a great grievance and maybe get some of that situation. But if they say you're asking for something that's unreasonable or that we can't afford, the union really has no collective bargaining leverage beyond, well, then we're just going to walk out as a collective body.
They don't have the numbers and they don't have specialized skills.
Well, they don't have specialized skills, but it does take some skill to get up and running to do what they're doing. So we're talking like, the previews magazines and putting all that stuff together, fixing up any artwork that needs to be done, getting the orders into other countries and knowing the schematics of the books and what the artists and writers want on these books to be done. So, you have to contact these people and get information from them. It would stop Image probably for a couple months if there was like a strike or something like that.
Right.
But they would have the stuff that was coming out, but they would have nothing. Nobody knows how to run that company that owns it.
Yeah, they literally can hide.
But they look at it that way. It stops them for a couple of months, and there's this huge disruption in that flow of
well, that's not
materials.
A good thing in this environment these days. Especially
no, it's not. But if they bring in a bunch of contractors, train them up on how to do that job. Once they get back up and running, now they've fully replaced their staff because the union has now left voluntarily, and there's no incentive to bring them back.
But if you're a union, you can't just shit can people unnecessarily. I mean, you're just going to scab it all the way.
Yeah, but if the union walks out and you refuse to come back, that's not Image's problem.
Well, they don't have to. Anyway, I don't know. Yeah, these are all things I'm curious to see what was going to happen.
But I mean, I'm pro union in the right way for the right reasons. I have like, police in my family and all kinds of things, so I understand that unions can be very important for the right circumstances. But if I was going to be sneaky, not that I am, but if I was going to be sneaky and I was Image, what I would say is, we're going to set up a new office 3 states over, just to kind of expand our materials. And the requirement is, if you want to be part of that office, you have to, and if you're here in Portland, you have to relocate.
Yeah, my buddy was like,
that would be the easiest thing to do in the world.
My buddy, he's like, oh, Kirkman ain't going to like this at all. He's just going to move the whole goddamn thing to LA where he is.
Here's the thing. If you want to continue to work for Image, you have to relocate with them. And everybody who doesn't have the funds or the wherewithal to relocate, all of a sudden they quit.
Well, they already did it just this recently. They've moved a bunch of times anyway. I mean, headquarters.
Here's the thing. You guys said that they'd be shut down. Not necessarily. All they have to do is, being able to get the orders into the time, be able to get the solicits in, work out with the printers. Every one of these jobs is something that has been done at every other company. All they got to do is hire somebody that used to work for a different company did the same job, and it doesn't matter.
Those people are expecting a certain amount of money.
I understand.
Image, I guess, isn't paying it right now.
Well, but here's the thing: this union isn't about that. It's very little to do with actual monetary.
If I don't get number 10, it's going to be a big number 1.
It's like, if I work from home, I want you to pay for my printer cartridges.
And if you go to the CWU website, where they have profiles of all the people that were in that union, they shows their pictures and where they were. These are not 30-year veterans. Right. These are people that have been working at Image, in some cases a year, couple years at that. Uh-huh. So whatever specialized skills they have, it can be picked up within a reasonable period of time. It's not like they were replacing 30-year veterans who know the ins and outs of the industry that you couldn't replace in a million years without a 6-year learning curve. These are all fairly, I would say, young. I don't know what their ages are, but fairly recent. They're not old guard veterans or any of that nature. So if they had to be replaced, they are replaceable.
And here's the thing. Like Kirkman has these employees. He has these type of people that literally work for his imprint. Todd has people that do this exact same job. All the partners have to do is be like, hey, while we hire the new guys, my guy from this office will do everything for the diamond, and your guy from this office will do everything for the printer relations, and this guy from this office will do everything with payroll. The one that my payroll guy will do all the payroll for like 3 months. Yeah, I'll give him a little bonus. Everybody they share the responsibilities while they find new corporate Image people to do it.
That makes it sound like Man, I even that sounds like it kind of kills Image a little bit, you know. If it's like all the books that get made, even Kirkman's books, he gets a bigger percentage than a lot of the other people. But that goes into funding. This is a company that owns nothing. You know, Image is a company that owns no characters.
It owns owns one trademark. That's it.
Which one?
The Image logo.
Oh, the Image logo. Very good. It is just Image, you know, because we saw Wildcats leave, you know, with Youngblood's gone, you know, all that stuff. And they are the number 3 comic book company running in America.
Yeah, but my point is
they don't own nothing.
But my point is Skybound has their own payroll department.
Right. Well,
you know, Shadowline has their own like PR. And all they do is
still gets funneled through the big thing. You know, there's got to be paperwork done for the umbrella, you know, that is Image, the big eye.
No, I get that. And my point is that they can very easily, hey, for 2 or 3 months while we're getting the new guy trained up, my accountant will do this. Your PR guy will do that for everybody, for the entire company. We're all partners in Image. So my imprints guy will do that while we're hiring somebody.
All right, so we do have a few super chats we need to get to. First one's from Brad Frederick. Will the Image unit try to gatekeep Jeff Johns? I think they probably would if they got their way about it. I think that was the point, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Or at least a guy like him for sure. maybe Jeff Johns is too big. Maybe.
No,
he's got his own imprint.
Yeah.
No, they can still try to gatekeep him. You know, they could try gatekeeping Todd and say, you know, I don't like that Brett Booth is doing these Gunslinger Spawn issues or this cover for King Spawn. We're not going to publish that. They could theoretically do that if
it's collectively bargained.
If it's collectively bargained and agreed to, and that's why the company's never going to say yes to it. So now, what this union did was, it was them saying we're going to play hardball with Image. Image still has the ability to say fuck off and die in a fire.
Yep. All right, Doc. Here's came KDI. McFarlane, Kirkman, Miller, Valentino, Silvestri could all get published elsewhere. Image is a collection of studios with freelancers. Yeah, they don't even have their own editors.
I don't know about Valentino though.
Yeah, Shadowline won't really.
Shadowline just publishes other people's crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's the most unique setup that they have at Image Comics. Like I said, they don't even have an editorial staff.
Sucked. Even Shadowhawk sucked.
Valentino, man, that guy is he's the Ringo of comics right there. He's not that good.
But we also got Jimmy from Comic Works, the comic book teddy bear himself. Says, I have no idea what we're talking about, but I disagree with Doc. You are a smart man. That is a
wow.
policy, Jimmy.
That's saying something, right?
Hi, Jimmy. I love you, buddy.
That's a good, solid policy you got there. So thank you very much for supporting the channel. We'll definitely have Jimmy back on here pretty soon. Does anyone else have anything else to talk about the union? Obviously, it's in the very early stages. It just got certified and recognized. We shall see. I don't think we'll see any effects, at least early on.
No, we won't. I doubt we'll see any like that. It's point number 9 on their manifesto. That's the one that's got everybody all upset. That whole thing about the vetoing artists and whatever else, which is pure nonsense. If Image ever agreed to that, they deserve to go out of business. But by the same token, if they do have inconsistent working conditions and inconsistency about how they're treating employees as far as pay or time off or whatever else, if the union helps that's a good thing. That's a circumstance where a union is a good thing. So if they are truly having those problems and this union can help address that kind of problem, all for it.
Yeah.
So do you think it's I'm sorry. No. So you think, is it more about gatekeeping or is it more about better work conditions?
I think they've conflated the two in one big messy ball of stuff. And I said this to somebody else the other day. The CW would be a fascinating case study in how to create a union the wrong way for the wrong reasons. Because if you have inconsistent employee problems like pays off or promotions aren't happening with consistency and HR is not listening, all those kinds of problems, that's a good reason to form a union. But if you form a union for those reasons, and then you add in things like, well, I want to be able to cancel books because we do think you're conflating problems together, and you wind up invalidating both.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I just think it's the ballsiness of asking for that offends me.
and it's not even from
It's like
creators.
why did they ask for free SpaceX rides too while they're at it? You know,
They're marketing
like,
people and sales people, sales specialists. Why is a sales specialist and somebody working in the marketing department asking for that?
Right.
You have nothing to do with the creative process. Why are you asking for that?
Well, I look at it this way. I can't take when you add unserious requests like that in with a bunch of serious requests, it diminishes the seriousness of your original request.
Well, it's serious, Doc. I mean, enough.
No,
people,
to sane people, it is an unserious request.
It's a non-starter.
Yeah.
All right, so we do have a couple more topics, and before we get there, I do want to say thank you to everyone that's given us a like. We went over 200 live viewers, so if you haven't yet, definitely give us a like. Let everyone know we're having a good conversation. We got something interesting to talk about. There are rumors that came out from Grace Randolph. She talked on Twitter about what she has heard is going to be the future of the DCEU, which has not been smooth sailing thus far, according to Grace Randolph. Superman is out. They're going to replace him with Supergirl. They're eventually going to replace Batman with Batgirl. And they're going to form a whole new Justice League and kind of kick off this new era of the DCEU. I don't know, Doc. They haven't done a good Justice League movie with the original characters yet. It's a time to move on.
You know what? Every time I watch DC, like their film division, fuck up more, I laugh. It's like every time they have a chance at potentially doing something cool, they manage to screw it up. And yeah, they screwed up Justice League. So instead of taking the things that people liked about Justice League, they're throwing those things out and they're keeping the things that people didn't like. And then they're adding more stuff that people have historically not liked. So sure, you know what? If you want to, I mean, if your goal is to make the most hated comic book movie of all time, like more hated than like the Roger Corman Fantastic Four, more hated than Fan Four Stick, more hated than let's see, Constantine.
I'm crapping on Keanu Reeves. Is that what you're doing?
No, I'm clapping on the bad story. If your goal is to make that, I'm trying to think what are the most hated comic book series or comic book movies of all time, and a lot of them tend to be Fantastic Four movies. In fact, all of the
Batman versus Superman,
Ben Affleck, Daredevil,
X-Men 3,
Spider-Man 3,
just
Superman 4
movie altogether.
Superman 4, Bat Nipples Batman.
You know what? I'm going to disagree with you on that one because I saw.
But never mind. But regardless, X-Men Dark Phoenix,
X-Men Origins Wolverine.
X-Men Apocalypse.
All right, we get the point, though.
But if you're willingly aiming to be like, everybody hated a lot of aspects of this. Like they took all the shit that everyone hated about the previous movies and made a big version of that. Let's do that. If that's what they're going for here, they're going to hit it out of fucking park. People might hate, I think they might.
They might as well just name this the third movie right off the bat.
Yeah, they might, you know what? It might be one of those things where they're like, hey, you know what? We can't beat Marvel heads to head with like developing a universe. So, and people like becoming zombies to it. But you know what we can do? We can get people to hate watch the shit out of our shows, out of our movies. That's what we're aiming for. Hate watch.
Like Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Maybe.
I don't know. What do you think, Gabe? I just want to see a DC shared universe that can try and compete with the MCU. It's been so disappointing because, in my opinion, I'm a DC guy. I think DC has the better superheroes and the better possibility for a shared connected universe. You know, obviously, should have culminated in Justice League instead of jumping there, but they really are throwing the baby out with the bathwater in this one.
Well, we're circling right back again to the first topic of the stream, which is Hickman not being able to pull off his vision because he started off strong, and then Marvel just kind of detracts and they flow off the road and they go this way and then that way, and then they can't commit to the bit. The DCEU, or I should say Warner Brothers, is the same way. Come up with a vision for where you want to go, stick to it. Now, that's, that goes with anything. The problem is, if you're in the chat, you're going to hate me. I'm just going to accept that right now. Snyder is not that person. Snyder was never that person.
Yep.
He just wasn't.
No, he
I'm
wasn't.
sorry. If you love Snyderverse, if you love Snyder's vision, more power to you. I'm not telling you not to like it. I'm telling you now, Snyder is not a storyteller. He's a great visuals guy. And the best movies he's pulled off are movies where he just basically took what was already on the printed page. I'm thinking about 300. I'm thinking about Sin City and everything else. Essentially, he just used them as storyboards and just recreated them on film. He is not a storytelling director. He is a visual director. He knows how to make things look pretty, but he doesn't know how to do character development. He doesn't know how to do plot progression. He relies on the writers to do that. So then when you get to Man of Steel, which I think was mediocre, that's just me. I love Henry Cavill, but that was not the best script. Then you get to BVS, which was a freaking nightmare, and that's on Goyer and Terrio, who were the script writers and script doctors on that one. He just goes along with whatever's on the script, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. And he just says, let me just take whatever it is and make it look pretty. That is not somebody with a plan. That is not somebody with a strategic vision of where they want to go. The glory of the MCU, if you want to call it that, some people say it's formulaic and it's pap and pablum and everything is fine, but it's made billions. And that goes back to somebody like a Kevin Feige who had a vision and said, we're going to plan it out. Now we may take some detours, things may adjust as we go, but we're going to have a plan, we're going to have a strategy, and we're going to stick to it. Warner Brothers doesn't have that person. They need to have a plan, they need to have a vision, and all. It seems like every time they put out a new movie, it's just, let's try this, let's try that, let's see if this works out. It seems like random guesswork, and until they figure out that you can't have these connected universes because you have to have a plan, or it doesn't work. And that's what you're seeing now, is that they're just trying to throw things out, trying to make it all put together, and it just doesn't happen. So unless and until they get to that point where you say, okay, if we're going to do this, let's come up with a plan. Let's start with something small, or start with one character. That's what the MCU did. They started off with Iron Man.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they made that work. And then they said, let's do Captain America or in Thor. Let's make those guys work. And then let's bring them together. It may not have been the perfect plan, but it was a plan. It was a path. You could see where they were going with it. And then when the Avengers came together, not the best team movie in the world, but it was pretty good. The first one with Joss Whedon, or he whose name shall not be mentioned. When that came together, it made sense. It fit. BVS was junk. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. If you're a Snyder fan, it's fine. You can love it. But from a writer, I come to things from a writer's and a story's perspective. BVS was junk. And then, Suicide Squad, the first one with David Ayers, made me physically angry. I wanted to punch somebody after watching that movie. It's these times they're just throwing things together. So if they want to go a new direction, that's fine. But what they've shown from at least the weasel words that came out of Ezra Miller for what is and is not going to be in the Flash, learn to read those weasel words. His statement is weasel words. And what's been coming out as far as having the Injustice version of Supergirl, and then putting in Keaton Batman with Affleck Batman and everything, It just seems like they're just throwing things together, seeing what sticks, and then we'll figure out whatever people like best. That's what we're going to do more of after this. It feels like we're being used as guinea pigs, and nobody likes to be in that position. So unless they come up with a plan, stick to it, move forward, they're always going to be in this floundering position. So is this going to be an erasure? I bet you it's going to be at least partially an erasure of the Snyderverse.
So
is
we're
that a bad
getting
thing or a good thing? It's up to you. I mean,
so we're getting Batman coming up soon, and then we're going to get Flash. Is that what it is? And then Black Adam eventually.
Yeah, and there's
Shazam.
Shazam 2.
And Shazam 2. And the Flash one is supposed to do like a Flashpoint thing where they're going to kind of like start over. Are they starting over with this Battinson then also? Is he part of that?
No, apparently he's not part of this new.
Just like the Joker movie.
Yeah.
Battinson is a year 2.
Battinson is okay, very good. All right, I see. Why? Maybe they should just not look at Marvel / Disney for the way forward, and except and these are the things, you have really big movies that they did, but the ones that people really seem to love always seem to be like the first Iron Man, Ant-Man. Amazingly, I really like Ant-Man more than the other Marvel movies, the Guardians of the Galaxy. Sure, those are big movies with explosions and stuff like that, but these are like small-time characters. And I saw somebody in chat say something about the Black Adam maybe not being so big a deal, and the Rock maybe not being that big a deal. But that would be like one of those type of movies, somebody you're not expecting, and it actually ends up being a good movie. I would just rather see more things like that. I'm really tired of Batman in the comic store and outside of it. I mean, eventually somebody's going to clue in and go, God, Batman, this stuff sucks. And realize that, oh my God, a Zatanna movie where maybe she has to deal with her father's past, and, you got magic villains and stuff like that, and it doesn't have to tie in with like the rest of the DCU. That would be a better type movie. And I could think of like, Martian Manhunter as a PI. That's or a cop like he is or whatever, and just following that character around, and you don't need it's just a cop movie except he's Martian Manhunter. There's a burning building, what am I going to do? That would be much more impressive than yet another version of Superman, yet another version of Batman, and then they go, I can't think past Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Well, let's do some Joker movies too while we're at it. It's like, come on, let's you got a longer list of characters and years than Marvel ever did, and you have so many things that you can pluck from, and it's only these characters. And we already know that a lot of times those lesser movies do better, or at least they're more beloved. And come on, man, you don't have to always run towards a new Justice League.
So we do have a few super chats we need to get to here.
Embarrassed that they haven't been able to.
We got to get to the super chats. All right, buddy.
Super chat.
We're going to move on to the next subject. We got Jordan Fugate. Is anyone actually surprised with the DCEU's direction at this point? I'm not surprised with the direction. I am surprised with the details. They don't seem to be well thought out. I'll give them that. It's like they're really jumping ahead of themselves. So.
That's why I'm not surprised, because they've literally been jumping ahead of themselves since the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah. They have not mapped these things out. We got Callum Lyle. You missed the Eternals and Captain Marvel. I don't think Captain Marvel was a bad movie. I just thought it was boring.
Miss is a questionable term. I
walk out.
I avoided it.
Yes. So I avoided Eternals. I slept through Captain Marvel, sort of.
I mean, I waited until Captain Marvel came out on Disney Plus. It wasn't horrible. As far as if you're looking to create a solo character movie that builds up a character and gets you excited for that character and excited for what the future holds for that character, they did not achieve that bar, just because they sort of made her irritating,
yes.
annoying, I mean, just
insufferable.
It wasn't the worst movie in the world, but at the same time, if the goal was to kind of hype up that character, they did not succeed.
It was
All right. Then
insufferable.
finally, we got Jimmy from Comics Work says, "I'm not listing Snyder's King. You drove Jimmy away, Gabe." Well,
Jimmy, you have my condolences. However, you are wrong. So thank you, and have a good day. I'll see you next week.
There we go. Does anyone else have anything to say about the future of the DCEU?
Why isn't Fatal J here for this?
I know, really.
The irony is, as bad as they are, the CW did a better job of putting together DCEU than the films did.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And then they
That makes
fucked
sense.
that up too.
Yeah, I mean, Batwoman was a nightmare. I don't know even.
I saw that first episode. Yikes. There wasn't one
Supergirl fell apart. It was okay for a little bit. Legends went from bad to pretty good to fucking terrible. So yeah, and Flash went from good to bad.
If the CW can change gears, I know they're looking to be sold. If the CW can change gears to key on what they're doing right now with Stargirl and Superman and Lois, they'd be in a much better place right now. Those two shows are fun.
Hey, you know what, Wes? How much you get in super chats today? You might be able to buy a CW.
Anything like that.
That
I don't
library
think
is
so.
way too deep. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
there's a lot of money involved in that.
Netflix needs shows, man.
Comics Works with Jimmy says, "I'm wrong. He must be new." Gabe's been on here one other time, but he's not. I mean, that doesn't mean he's new. You've been wrong a lot.
All I know is right now I'm waiting for the Naomi show to come out because I'm sure that's going to fix everything.
That'll be good content for the channel.
I got one of those slab coming in eventually.
I think we're done with the DC. Let's get into the last topic. This is a little bit old, but we didn't have a live stream last weekend. We have Gabe here, who I know you took offense to the Human Target, the last issue where Tom King, I guess he decided that, Guy Gardner kind of being a jerk, maybe a bit of a meathead wasn't enough. He needed to be a stalker and also absolutely petrified of Hal Jordan. What did you? Is it just Tom King being Tom King? Is he trying to be edgy? Why does he always do this to characters?
I'm once again crossing my arms in a defensive posture because when I read that comic, I was incensed. I couldn't. Okay, but I have to reel myself back because one thing I have concluded or come to conclude is when it comes to Tom King doesn't care about canon or history or the voice or the personality characters or any of that. Tom King writes his stories like he has an action figure and he's in his sandbox and he's just going like this. The sense of the story doesn't matter. The sense of these characters, where they've been, where they've lived, the legacy of their history is irrelevant. He just takes his action figures. This one is this guy, and this one is Guy Gardner. Here's Hal Jordan. They're just doing this. That's how King develops his stories. Now, he develops them really in a very skilled way. He's a very skilled writer, but he doesn't pay attention to this stuff. So I read that and I was like, you can say a lot of things about Guy Gardner. And everything you can say about Guy Gardner usually has the word jerk somewhere in the description. He is definitely a jerk. Nobody complained about that. However, I have never once ever seen Guy Gardner abuse the power of his ring to chase down his ex-girlfriend, to beat up on her current boyfriend because you don't get her like I do. That is not a phrase I would ever want to hear out of Guy Gardner's mouth. And then when Hal Jordan shows up, spoiler, it wasn't really Hal Jordan, it was somebody else. But when Hal Jordan shows up, see Guy Gardner cower in front of Hal Jordan. I was like, dude, no, thank you, sir. No, thank you. You can just pass me right along with that nonsense. That is one of the, I read Strange Adventures. I read Strange Adventures.
Why?
I thought that was bad. I've never seen. It's part of the job. It comes.
It's
with
not
the
as bad as Mr. Terrific's murdering that he did to him on that.
I kind of feel close about that. I kind of feel close. This is one of the more egregious mischaracterizations of a character that Tom's done in a while. And I'm also going through Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow as well. That one I can at least pass because I know that's not Supergirl. That's just a grizzled, drunken old cowboy
Rooster
with
Cogburn.
Supergirl's skin on her. Yeah, it's Rooster Cogburn. So you can go along with that because it's like, this is definitely not that. But to see Gardner, I was like, oh, come on, my guy. I don't know what Tom King, I don't know why. It's Black Label. Okay, so people just dismiss everything as Black Label, so sure, just let it go. But man, oh man, that is, Tom King just does not care one bit about keeping characters in their voice, in their personality, and consistent. And I don't know why that's okay. People just sort of dismiss it as Black Label, so it doesn't count, so who cares? But again, it goes back to we care because that's why we're here. We're here because we care. So we just take them and treat them like they're nothing, like it doesn't matter. It just rubs me the wrong way. That's all.
It's one of those things where Tom King doesn't bend the story to the character traits and character history. He literally breaks the characters around his story to make them fit whatever it is that he's trying to say, whether that fits that character or not. It really does. It just,
I feel like he gets like maybe the essence of the character and maybe just like boils it down to one point. And like, all right, well, that's relatable. Like Gabe was saying, Guy Gardner's a jerk. All right, this guy's a jerk. But Tom King then takes it to like this level that we could probably have seen happen, but Tom King's going to make sure we do see it happen. Case in point, there was this movie called Psycho, and then it was remade, and dude's like, in the first movie, because it's old, you ain't gonna see anything like this. In the second movie, he's like watching Janet Leigh or whoever the new Janet Leigh is, and he's like spanking the monkey. Like, I could maybe have thought that might be something that he would do in the first movie because I'm edgy as a kid and I think about those things, but you don't show it. And Tom King does. He's like, wow, would it be really cool if dude was like a war criminal and all these things that he did on Earth we thought were really cool. It really wasn't, right? And it could be the same thing with this human target bit, and same thing with Batman Catwoman, except Batman Catwoman, that stuff was actually in the continuity, and that's where it gets a little funky. He did it with Vision. It's wow, wouldn't it be great if these the Vision had a family and all this other stuff? And it's like that's the one thing he thinks about, and he takes it to the level that we probably should never have seen, or just left, thinking, oh well, wouldn't it be cool if this happened, but not really doing it. And that's what Tom King kind of reminds me of.
Tom King needs to go back to just writing for AO3. That's where he needs all of his stuff should just be published there, nowhere else.
We do have a couple. What's up?
I'm sorry.
Kerry? No.
Does he even like superheroes? Because I get this impression he doesn't.
I don't think he does, to be perfectly honest.
He likes telling his type of story, and like Wes was saying, he kind of bends these characters. Who I don't even know if he chooses the characters first, or you kind of. It all depends on how editorial works over there. I'm sure this guy's given a green light to pitch almost anything, and almost anything's going to probably get through. Wouldn't it be cool if we do True Grit and Supergirl? That type of thing. Oh wow, I haven't seen that before.
Well, I think what it is
he has on with her.
He has an idea for a story. He has no idea what characters are going to fit in. He finds the main character as the closest that exists in DC, or whatever publisher he's using. Then tries to find the closest possible character to fit all of his other characters in his story. And if they don't match up completely, fuck it, I don't care. If they don't make sense at all, fuck it, I don't care. And then he just writes the story that he planned on writing, kind of the same way that Nolan did the Batman trilogy. Nolan wrote a crime trilogy, and then Warner made it by forcing him to turn it into a Batman series. That's what he did. He wrote a crime trilogy. Now, the third one was much more comic-centric, but the first one and the second one were designed as just two crime movies. And they forced him to turn it into a Batman movie or a Batman series. Same thing with Tom King.
Yeah,
So he doesn't
people
want to write
like the
superheroes.
Nolan Batman movies, and people don't like what Tom King is doing to these characters. It's kind of
One's a
Well,
much
to
more
be fair, I
competent
think the
creator.
Batman titles right now could be better served from moving more to a crime-centric motif for Batman. I think that would be more successful than what they're doing now with Nakano and the Magistrate and all that junk. I mean, I think people would have less of an issue with Tom King if it's not so much about whether or not it's superhero versus non-superhero. It's just the mood and the tone that he adopts for his stories. He wallows in misery, and he wants the readers to wallow in misery. He wants the characters to wallow in misery. I think the statement I made about Strange Adventures was, it's like watching Schindler's List, but edited down to just the concentration camp scenes. That's what it feels like when you're done. There's no fun. There's no joy in stories like that. It's just awful people being awful to each other for awful reasons, and then give me 12 issues of that. At the end of it, they're like, well, it's really well written and the art's great.
I feel like Tom King's just a nihilist that really needs. He's a nihilist that really needs therapy.
Yes.
I don't know like that. We do have a couple super chats. We got Cal Lyle says he probably got a news for Christmas. Well, it sounds like you're in the doc camp here. They also said, I remember someone saying Tom King writes himself as the hero and projects himself. That line of Mr. Terrific's baby was that him wishing that on his own children? I could be wrong. I wouldn't say that. I don't know that he wishes his children weren't born. That sounds like a terrible thing to project on someone else.
Well, can I for a second?
Yes.
You know, he might not think that, but he might have thought that. You know what I mean? And taken it to a level and placed it upon that character. And sometimes writing is taking like that worst example of maybe yourself and just kind of growing it for, the character. There's a little bit of every, there's a lot of yourself in all the writing, I'm assuming that he does. And, that doesn't mean it's really him, but he is, at least this is the side of himself that he's in tune with, at least right now as a writer in comics.
Well, I mean, he certainly said that, when he was writing Batman, like Catwoman was a stand-in, I believe, for his wife. And that's why she was so overwhelmingly OP. And you remember this game when you get to the very end of City of Bane, City of Bane, and Batman's getting in there. He's going to fight. He's about to fight, and as soon as he puts one finger on the villain, he's thrown against the wall, and then Catwoman just annihilates him by herself.
A lot of theories have been bandied about that Tom King likes to write, I would say, cowed male characters that are being overwrought by, it's like a strong female kind of a mommy wife type character. And there's definitely reason to support that argument. I'm not 100% on that, but I can see how that argument can be made. But the problem is that pattern has been repeated more than once. And
I think he needs a divorce.
He's got to take that out of there, because that's not the situations these characters find themselves in naturally according to their history. And so if he's going to write that relationship in there, he needs to find a better set of characters that embody that relationship more accurately. Maybe Scott-Free and Big Barda, okay, maybe I can see something like that just because of the juxtaposition of their physicality. Maybe that makes sense, but he just writes that too often, and it's starting to become a one-note problem, and he really needs to dump that.
He needs a divorce.
You don't know that.
I'm joking. Fuck, man.
Look, no one can see your face, Doc. I don't know when you're joking. When you're not. You got the same tone.
Too far.
But look, the you know what? Or it's a good exploration of his fetishes. I don't know which one. I mean, Chuck Austin did it, so Tom King might do it.
Oh my God!
There's a swing set, is what you're telling me, and it's not in the
But
backyard.
here's the opposite. Here's the opposite part of that problem. Here's the opposite part of that problem is, we're kind of giving Tom King all kinds of grief. DC allows it.
Mm-hmm.
This is not on Tom King. This is on DC, because this is how they view the importance of the caretaking of their characters. So if they're allowing it, that means they just view. I think I've said something like this before, is they don't view Batman as Batman. They view Batman as a brand. You know, it goes back to the t-shirt backpack analogy. They don't view him as a character, as a person, somebody that people can invest in emotionally and intellectually and just on a number of different levels. They don't view him as a person. They view him as a brand. This can be a Batman over here, and this can be a Batman over here.
So I should be getting the best damn Batman that's different every single time I see somebody take it on. Like Jock, why is he just telling me a normal Batman story? I mean,
you go to Gotham High.
I need some rip roaring Batman stories if people are going to do their takes on the characters.
Hey,
you know what? I'm going to fully accept Tom King's style, and I say place it on every freaking character. And then if you're another person that has another something that you want to do to Batman, do it, because it's all been done. And the problem is that with all the different miniseries, they're like, oh, well, let's add this character to the mix, you know, or something, you know, oh, well, we'll put him over here. Oh, we'll put him in medieval times and stuff like that. You know, fine. Let's just keep going, you know, because continuity isn't important anymore.
Hey, where's Pilgrim Batman? We need him back. But no, look, he you know what Tom's writing right now? He's writing the Dark Knight for Gotham High. That Gotham High YA novel. The Dark Knight's future version. That's what he's writing.
I'm ready.
But there also is the story when he proposed the story of Heroes in Crisis. It wasn't Wally that was supposed to be the killer. It was just there was a killer, and DC Editorial is the one that chose the character that was going to do that.
Right.
So in that case, Gabe, it does sound like DC is certainly as at fault as Tom King is.
Yeah. As much as we fault Tom King as much as we fault Tom King because his name's on the cover, DC allows it.
Mm-hmm.
They say okay to it. They print it. They approve it. They approve it. They ship it. It's not. I mean, as much as we can blame Tom King, it's on DC because they said this is okay. And that kind of goes back to where we were earlier with the hype and the rivalry conversation. Is it doesn't feel like somebody is passionate about Batman. Within not at the writer or the artist level, I'm talking about like at editorial, the publishing level, or the marketing level. They don't seem like they're passionate about Batman because they let anything go through pretty much at this point. It doesn't matter. He's just a brand. And that amplifies the problem.
Well, I think we can look at it this way. I know that it seems to the chat that we really don't like Tom King, but we're in good company. Tom King doesn't seem to like Tom King very much either.
I don't know Tom King. I'm sure he's a swell guy. I don't like it. It's gotten old. It's the same story over and over and over.
I don't like what Tom King does to DC characters.
Yeah,
that's what I don't know. I don't like what Tom King does to DC characters.
We do have a super chat from Mr. DC Comics. Thank you so much. A very generous $20. Watching the trailer for The Boys Season 3 and thinking to myself that Superman needs a movie where he fights his evil copycats of Homelander, Omni-Man, Sentry, etc., and reestablish what he stands for and take back his name.
That would require DC to know what his name and character and everything means itself. They've been obsessed with making him evil for what, like 20 years now, since Red Sun?
Dude, the final boss is his kid, right? Yeah, kill his kid too.
They've already done
it. Perfect for it.
Homelander is just Ultraman.
Right.
Yeah.
Homelander is just Ultraman. They already established that universe. Or was it 3? Or 3?
I appreciate this sentiment. I agree, because like there's Irredeemable that was done, and don't forget the Elite. They had Manchester Black and stuff like that. He was kind of like the antithesis of Superman, also, at least as far as edgy guys that will do anything they can to to win. Sorry.
All right, so we got another super chat from Cal Mile. Why is it hard to fire that miserable coward? Be honest. When you look at people that can sell comic books on their name in the byline, Tom King does sell comic books better than most people at DC Comics right now.
I sell it. He puts out 2 or 3 miniseries at the same time, and I can guarantee the numbers all the time, and I love it.
Yeah, there's only a few writers that can do that. Scott Snyder would be one. Who else? It's certainly not. Maybe it was James Tynion there for a minute, but like Bendis isn't one of them. Jeff Johns would be another.
Jeff Johns, yeah. There's a few people. I mean, so Tom King, when he gets really super hot and people start talking, he's a higher selling writer for me. But he's kind of an in between, a higher in between, maybe. A guy like Hickman, of course, sells well. It's just not a whole lot right now. I would tell people like Joshua Williamson's a really great writer, and you should pick up his stuff all the time. Maybe the Batman that he's doing right now will expose him to other people, but more often than not, Batman readers read Batman, and they don't care that Joshua Williamson is doing it and aren't going to follow him to other books. So that's just the reality of it.
Donny Cates.
It's on me to let people know that people work on books. Lemire is a definite seller for me.
And King's coming back to Batman for that mini, I think in March, right?
Yes.
He
says it's going to be all action.
The guys like Josh Williamson, what they need to do is they need to hit something big. They could be very, very consistent, good writer, but you will never be. You got to do something that actually sets you apart at least once, and then people will start following you. I don't know why it is, but you got to do something that really sets you apart.
5-year run.
No, it's not even. It's not even a good 5-year run. Like sometimes it's just enough to get your name into the forefront of people's minds. That's it.
All right, so Jimmy from Comic Quirks, I'm gonna correct you here. He says you may not like it, but Bendis does for the first 10 or 15 books. Not anymore. You're talking 7-8 years ago. Go look at the numbers for Event Leviathan. An event book with Batman and Superman in the starring role. The first issue, I think, was 50,000, and after that, it just absolutely tanked.
Where is Checkmate right now?
I think it's done now, right?
Yeah. Did you sell
but
Checkmate?
As far as sales, how well did Checkmate do?
Yeah, I sold every issue I ordered.
You ordered two.
You didn't
copies,
order
right?
0.
I know my numbers on a Bendis book. Joy Operations isn't doing so well, and it was an okay first issue. I would say the thing about Bendis is that however long you've had time with him, it's just like Tom King, except Tom King, it didn't take as long to figure out what was going on. Maybe Bendis was like, oh man, back in the days that guy could do no wrong, and the fact that he was coming over to do a Marvel book, he had the proper simmering time on the stove to where you're like, holy cow, I've always wondered what this guy would do when he got a chance to. Now we're going to find out. But Tom King was like up and running with the superheroes and making, killing people off, whether he was directed or not to, and it's just like, you can see it with comic books also. Do you know how long it took for Wolverine to get in his own series? And it was a mini series, Now it's a new character, whether it's like up and running and they do it all the time, but it felt a little bit different and not as natural,
Mosaic.
As it did then.
Mosaic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mosaic.
You didn't give this person any time. You had no desire to let it last long.
Weapon H.
Just threw it out in the deep end, and I didn't even see him in Spider-Man first or whatever it was, This is Dazzler, she didn't just immediately have her own series, she soon thereafter did. And I can say that with a lot of things.
Actually, she did. She got launched on her own series. Dazzler number 1 is her own, but she was also
an X-Men though. Yeah.
No, she got added to X-Men because her solo series didn't work.
No, I meant first appearance. Let's not get too nerdy about this.
I'm pretty sure her first appearance is Dazzler number 1.
You're killing me, X-Men boy. You're killing me. Is that true? I thought it was X-Men 129 or something.
No, I'm pretty
X-Men 130, first appearance of Dazzler.
130.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
All right, guys, I want you to
I'm an
go
idiot.
speculate on that issue. All right, so if you're gonna buy any one X-Men book, I would get 130 because there's a lot of first appearances in it.
And
expensive.
Doc was wrong. I kind of like that about an
I was.
X-Men book. Way to do it, Yule.
I was right. I was wrong. I was wrong, and I own it.
Well, I mean, soon thereafter, she had her own series, though. It wasn't like, you know,
Yule,
it wasn't Wolverine apart.
Don't ruin the moment. I owe you a beer, sir. One day you will collect.
I'll take that. Yeah.
I don't know, Gabe. As a DC reader, obviously you do the weird science DC reviews. You do everything, but you're kind of in the DC zone. And they're saying, and Tom King's saying, hey, you know, I'm not concentrating on trauma with characters anymore. In this next Batman story, it's going to be all action and adventure. Like at this point, can you even believe him? Obviously, you and I will have to read it, but there's no way I could. Like if someone asked me, I'm like, I don't believe that for a second.
Whenever I'm presented with a comic to read and review, everybody gets a fresh start every single time. There is, I do my very best. I'm not always 100% successful, but I do my very level best to say whatever happened before is before. This is an opportunity for a fresh start, new chance, new opportunity. I was with Human. I loved Human Target issues 1 and 2.
Remember,
I was on it. I was like, hey, this is fun. This is mid-century kind of detective noir in that 50s setting. Very snappy. It's ripping off DOA, but okay, that's sort of Tom King's thing of ripping off movies. Okay, fine. I can with it. And then Guy Gardner is like, you son of a gun. You got me right in the crotch with that uppercut, and it happens. So he has a proven record of kind of starting off strong, kind of giving you what you want, and then yank the rug right there in the middle of it, and like, oh, okay. So he's going to get a fresh start. He's going to get a fresh chance every single time. However, it is unavoidable at this point for you to not have that little guy sitting on your shoulder saying, remember, it's Tom King. Remember what he's done. Remember the wedding. Remember what he did to Adam
someone
Strange.
comes up and
He's
asks
just
you
sitting
what you
there,
think.
You just can't avoid it. You can't avoid it at this point. He's going to get a fresh start, but I'm on my guard. And if he does great, then great. If he doesn't, then it's just par for the course.
I'm with you. The only miniseries or series that he's done that didn't start out good, to me, was Heroes in Crisis. I was like, this is a stupid concept from the very beginning. But Strange Adventures, Rorschach was pretty interesting right at the get-go. Human Target, they all start out really good, and then he just destroys a character about 4 issues in.
I have a question for all you guys that constantly give him a fresh start. Have you had a fucking head trauma recently?
I have a YouTube channel, Doc. I don't get a choice in these things.
Well, okay, fine. You don't have a choice. But like, what do you also go back like when you've been punched in the face by the same guy repeatedly in the same bar? Do you keep going in that bar and like walking up to that same guy?
Yeah, I'm tough like that, Doc. I'm not a weakling like you. I don't cower in the corner. I come back for more. What are you talking about?
Here's the difference. Here's the difference. I love comics, passionate about comics, and have been since I was a wee lad. But as a reviewer, the reviews. This is my opinion. Not every website, like Bleeding Cool or whatever, has a different opinion about how they do this. For me, writing reviews is a public service. We write the reviews so that you know what's in there without, and hopefully from a trusted source that says, this is good, this wasn't good, and this is why. Part of it is a little bit of educating the reviewers of what we see from a reviewer's perspective, but at the same time, kind of giving people a heads up because these floppies are darn expensive. Darn expensive. I saw somebody in the chat trying to defend Ram v Swamp Thing. 10 issues at $3.99 a pop. That's $40. $40, and we still don't have his origin of how he became Swamp Thing. There is no excuse for that. None.
I think
none.
I think it should just be Wes and Gabe in the screen right now so they can fight.
I'm not fighting Gabe.
I thought you liked
There
Swamp
was no
Thing.
excuse for that.
Ram V?
No. See, I just state Swamp Thing brilliant. This Swamp Thing sucks. 6 issues in, I was like, nothing's happened. What the hell's going on here?
I thought you liked it in the beginning of the new
Issue 5 was a breather where he turned into Constantine's lackey so he could retrieve a thought bomb. I feel embarrassed just saying that statement.
See, I guess my point here is once you keep getting fucked by the same guy.
No, but I mean, Doc, it comes with the comes with the job, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I mean, but
eventually you can go. It's Tom Taylor. It's Tom King. It's Brian Bendis. Make of that what you will, and move the fuck on. Like at some point, you got to go. Like it's
you really
this guy.
can't.
Do you really?
I have the same reaction with Mark Russell. I think somebody in the chat said, one star squadron is killer. It says, yes, it is killer. It's killing my will to live. Having to write that.
Oh, Mark Russell is an automatic no buy. I mean,
crazy.
Yeah,
I have to warn people when these things are coming out.
When I read Mark Russell, I don't feel like all right, you guys could say, oh, you feel that way, but I don't. But you read Tom King and you feel and you still read Tom King.
I wouldn't read Tom King if I didn't have this channel.
Well, you don't have to read it all, right?
Yeah,
I guess
do.
You do.
Because he's going to do something that I need to talk about. It's about the 4th issue, and then about the issue number 11 is when I have to do the follow up when he destroys the main character.
Right.
It's a pattern.
Yeah,
until something's changed, King is inextricably linked to DC right now.
I mean, I understand what he's doing.
So if you got to talk about DC, you can't help it.
He's trying to put the face in peril, or put him down so far that he can. Do they ever redeem themselves towards the end? Never. Yeah. Like I haven't read them. I don't know.
Adam Strange gets murdered by his wife for being a bad father.
Yeah.
Oh wow. The one on in space or the one on Earth?
She's the same wife.
It was the same wife. He doesn't have a chick on the side or something like that. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I don't even know.
You know what? It would have been better if they gave him a fucking side chick and then his wife killed him.
There you go.
He wouldn't have been a complete sack of shit if he didn't give his child away to some aliens. So Callum Lyle says Tom King is clearly lying about doing a good book. Yeah, it's collateral. And I like what Rogue Comics says here. Wes is a man's man, damn it. Not even Tom King can change that. That's absolutely right. And hey, I don't know what your excuse is, Doc, but
I stopped sniffing poop after 4 times.
Yeah, well, I saw.
You've been reading X-Men for the last decade. Don't even talk about it.
I have. Like,
how are those Karen
but it's
issues, Doc?
Oh, fucking shoot me!
I like those.
That's right. And you know what? That's the reason why I'm not sticking around for round 2 of his shit show.
You didn't like when they had the Phoenix Force and Colossus took Kitty Pryde on that date? That was a pretty fucked up issue. I liked it.
Yeah, fuck this.
You remember that one?
Yeah.
I thought it was cool. Yeah.
Doc's got a complete run of Tom.
Sad.
You have a full run of X-Men Red, so that's all I need to know, Doc.
No, I do not.
Oh,
I have I have 2 issues of it. And then I said, nope, fuck this.
You didn't get one of those special variant covers for the first issue?
I did not get any of the variants.
Oh, because gold and blue came out first, and those are the ones that killed you for the completionist thing.
Exactly.
But if it came out first, you would have had a 1 in 1,000 of that motherfucker.
Well, no, then that would have been the one that killed my enthusiasm for books.
Yeah, don't let Doc fool you. He's been eating crap for an entire decade and hasn't stopped. So he's still been reading X-Men.
I'm like an Alzheimer's patient, or anyone around Thanksgiving or Halloween when it comes to candy corn. We all think it's not going to be the shittiest taste we've ever had in our mouth. It always is the shittiest taste we ever had in our mouth.
I don't know. So I think this will pretty much finish the show. Gabe, do you think Tom King does anything to if he's taken Guy Gardner to the bottom, he's got to rehabilitate the character by the end of the issue, right? Or the end of the series.
Maybe.
He hasn't done it yet.
He hasn't done it yet.
He forgot to do it in this other series.
He hasn't done it yet. I don't know. You've got Guy Gardner in Human Target, and he turns out to be like some kind of weird stalker, potentially abuser. I don't know. That's afraid of Hal Jordan. Weird. And then you move over to the main Green Lantern book, which is Jeff. Okay, but I think Jeff Thorne is like going too far into the deep cuts where half the stuff he's trying to reference that may seem cool to somebody who's really deep into Green Lantern lore, nobody understands or would get unless you're super into Green Lantern lore, and then nobody has their powers anymore. So
yeah,
DC just doesn't. I think they don't know what to do with the Green Lanterns at this point, and I'm waiting for them to figure that out.
Yeah, that Green Lantern book is a bait and switch. Yeah. All right, let's actually talk about some books worth recommending. Kerry, I'll throw it to you first. What comic books you recommended this week?
First, Arc Athenia by Eric Canetti.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
Kaiju number 8 from the manga, which is really good. Guy turns into a kaiju.
I saw your review on.
He's still fighting that big one. He's still fighting that one big monster. I don't know.
I know.
Kerry, I saw your review on that Arc Athena. That was pretty cool.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Definitely. If you're looking for some previews of Arc Athena, go over to Kerry's channel, and that should be available on the Iconic Comics website very soon.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a pretty good book. I agree. I thought it was fun to read.
I have not gotten my physical copy here because I'm in the Philippines, but I should be getting it somewhat soonish. All right, Gabe. What DC comics or what comic books in general are you recommending this week? You and Target.
Yeah, I went over a lot of. I'm going to recommend one that's not for DC or Marvel, just because it was just fun. And if I got to point to something that you don't see enough of in comics these days, it's just fun. And it's Elvira meets Vincent Price from Dynamite Comics.
Oh.
That one was fun.
Skeptical on those.
Yeah, because it riffs on the whole kind of B-movie cheesy, but it does it in an intentional way. And it's actually good. It's good art, and it's fairly well put together. So if you just want, if you enjoy that kind of old classic black and white sort of monsters, but with a mix of humor kind of thing, you'll like that one a lot.
All right, Yul, what are you guys recommending at Fantastic Comics?
Of comics that came out this week, you got to get Inferno. I mean, you gotta. And it answered the questions you want answered, I guess, and maybe not satisfactorily, but Hickman, and you've done this time, you might as well finish it. But I thought it was a pretty good issue. Also, I'm talking about it in chat. I'm a big Mark Russell fan, so One Star Squadron, and if you haven't been picking up Not All Robots, that came out today. Or this week, and get the trades. Those are that Not All Robots is a real. It's it makes you think, and I understand why people don't like it. It makes you think.
Comic Works with Jimmy says, "Don't listen to him, Doc. You'll always be my beautiful woman, big beautiful woman." I'm sorry.
Damn right.
That's your boo right there. Well, that's beautiful. Doc, what do you recommend besides spooning with Jimmy?
I'm definitely recommending Arc Athena. It was spectacular. Eric did a bang up fucking job on that book, and I cannot wait. He's already teasing the crowdfund for volume 2. All of it's already ready, so don't hesitate.
I can give the spoiler out. He's pretty much ready. He's finished with all of the volumes.
Yeah.
Are we going to get 2 a year now, or
I think we're gonna get. I think we're probably getting. We might get it quarterly.
Okay, so
I don't know.
Get at least 3 issues this year.
All of the issues are done.
Yeah,
I knew he was finished with 5, working on 6 when he launched the crowdfund for number 1. So he's probably about done.
There's that character. He has a character called Hypersexual, I think it was.
Yes.
And this character makes you get busy with yourself, basically. And there's such a scene in there. It's wild.
Yeah.
A big monster all over the place. It was wild.
Yeah.
So trying to sell it.
But so Arc Athena, I definitely recommend. Be on the lookout on Iconic Comics website, because it's going to be for sale there once the fulfillment's over. The Magic Order 2, number 3. I like almost everything that Miller does in his little Miller World thing. I recommend Inferno number 4 because it is representative of everything about the X-Men Hickman era and the Krakoan era. It shows great promise. It promises to move something forward. It stops halfway, gets stuck, and then just kind of fucking quits and walks out, giving everybody the finger, and now we have no way to escape it. So that's how, it's very representative of the entire Hickman X-Men era.
Man, Doc's the only guy that can take a comic book recommendation just to make you feel bad.
Yeah.
It's kind of what it is. It's like
I'm with you.
You know, I mean, there's the things you want in it, whether you want them, you don't want them specifically that way, but you know, you got the things, but it's a shame. I wanted to add on again to that one.
So I do have my best comics of the week coming up tomorrow with Drew from Comics Elite. Definitely be checking out that. We will have 2 DC, 2 Marvel, and 2 indie books at a minimum that we're recommending. I will say definitely read Batman 119. It feels like Williamson's got some good momentum going. We finally got to really see Abyss. Jorge Molina is absolutely destroying it on the art. It looked absolutely beautiful. So there's a little teaser. Definitely check out that Batman comic. I want to say thank you very much to the entire panel. Definitely give a shout out to Josh. If you see him around, apparently his power has not come back yet. So that's why we are one man short. But everyone picked up the slack, and I think we had a great show. And this was the first of many shows in 2022. Thank you all very much, and we will see you next week.
And wash your ass.
That's what Jimmy said.